The job of a hero was once seen as just fiction, but for one Izuku Midoriya, the job of being a hero was real. One day out of nowhere, a baby was born with the ability to glow, and from that day on, people all over the world started to develop unique abilities and superpowers, which were later called quirks. Jumping to the present time, about 80% of the world's population have some type of quirk. With the rise of super-powered individuals, crime rates grew tremendously until the once fictional job became real, the job of a pro hero. In a little apartment in Japan, we see a little green-haired boy sitting in a chair with his mother watching a video of the #1 hero in Japan, All Might, saving people with a smile on his face. "Have no fear, citizens." "Why?" "Because I am here," said All Might as he can be seen carrying people to safety from a burning building. "See, Mommy. All Might is the greatest hero," said a little Izuku to his mother, who just looked at her 3-year-old son with all the happiness a mother can show. "I know, sweetie. He is very strong and brave," said Inko. "Yes, he is, and once my quirk comes in, I will be a hero just like All Might," said the excited little Izuku. His mother just smiled at her son, but she was worried for her son. She and her husband didn't have the strongest of quirks. She could pull small objects to herself, and her husband could breathe fire. She knew that there was the chance that he could develop a combination of their quirks, but sometimes those can be rare. But deep in her heart, she knew no matter the quirk her baby had, she knew he would do great things. Time skipped 2 months. Izuku's 4th birthday. It was Izuku's 4th birthday, and he and his mother went over to the Bakugos to celebrate, and so Izuku could play with his best friend Kaken, while the adults talk in the living room. Inko and Bakugo's mother Mitsuki were talking like they used to back when they were friends in high school. They have been friends since then and have been in contact with each other for many years, and they helped each other with problems over the years. Like when Inko had to help Mitsuki calm down when her now husband Masaru Bakugo proposed to her. She was so excited that Inko thought she would burst from happiness, or the time when Mitsuki helped Inko to find a husband. Because at the time Inko was very self-conscious about her body, even though by Mitsuki's standards she was a supermodel. And to help her shy friend, she set her up with a guy that was great friends with her husband, a nice man named Hisashi Midoriya. And just as if she planned it, they were happily married in no time. As the two mothers talked, Masaru walked into the room with some drinks for the ladies and himself, but Inko noticed that there was an extra cup on the plate, and she didn't know who it was for. The only other person that they would talk to like this was Hisashi, but he was overseas working. Inko's thoughts came to a stop when the doorbell rang to the Bakugo house. Masaru called the boys downstairs before walking over to the door. As little Izuku and Katsuki came downstairs, he asked Izuku and his mother to come to the door. The mother and son duo came to the door with Inko holding her son in her arms with a quizzical look on her face, while Katsuki and his mother stood behind them with questioning looks as well. "Now that it is your 4th birthday, Izuku, I thought that you deserve a great big present, and for you, Inko, a little early birthday present," said Masaru as he opened the door to reveal Hisashi standing there with a big smile on his face. "Happy birthday, my little hero," said the now very happy father. In a flash, Izuku was running to his dad, yelling his name, with Inko not far behind her son. As the two green-haired missiles hit Hisashi, they had a big family hug with all of them shedding tears of happiness for seeing each other. "I thought you wouldn't make it, and that you had to stay in America for a couple more years," said a very happy Inko. "I did until Masaru helped me find a job closer to home, because I miss seeing you and our son so much," said Hisashi before kissing his wife and lifting his son to hug him more. After the family reunion, they all walked back inside and to the living room so that Izuku could open his presents. He couldn't wait to see what he got. The first present was from Mitsuki, and it was a book about dinosaurs and other prehistoric creatures, which he loved, because ever since he could read or even talk, he loved animals. Be that from common dogs and cats to snakes and lizards, he even likes insects, much to friends' dislike for the bugs. And recently, when he and Katsuki went to the museum, he loved to look at the dinosaur bones. With a big smile, he gave his Ani Mitsuki a big hug. Next was Masaru, but he just said that his present was already here, and Izuku just looked at his smiling dad. Next was Katsuki, who with a little help from his mom, gave him another book on insects and arachnids. Finally, his parents gave him one more book about animals, which he loved to see, and hugged his mother. Then his dad turned to little Izuku and asked, "Do you like the presents that you got?" And little Izuku just smiled the biggest smile he had ever given. But to the unknown knowledge of the people in the room, Izuku's quirk began to manifest. Time skipped couple months after Izuku turned 4. Izuku was walking around the playground at school with Bakugo and their other friends, until one of them got the ball they were playing with stuck in a tree. "Oh no, the ball is stuck. Now how are we going to play?" asked one of the kids. "Watch out. I will just climb the tree and get it. You guys just wait. None of you are strong enough to make it up there." "But the future #1 hero can," said a very overconfident Bakugo. As this was happening, little Izuku was waiting to see his friend get the ball, but he was also scared because he didn't want his best friend to get hurt. "Got it, you guys," said Bakugo as he threw the ball down and started to climb down. As he was on his way down, the branch he was holding snapped and he began to fall. As Bakugo screamed, the other kids ran to catch him. "Oh no, I have to get him. If I don't, he could get hurt," thought Izuku as he ran with the other kids. They ran as fast as they could, but they knew they wouldn't make it. "No, I have to go faster to help Kaken, like a hero. Just a little fast," thought Izuku as he wished he could be as fast as some of the animals he has read about, like a cheetah. In that moment it happened. A strange sensation went over Izuku as he felt himself become faster, more elongated, and more furry. In the blink of an eye, the other kids saw a small feline run past and cushioned the Bakugo fall, but unable to hold his weight, fell to the ground as well. "What happened? Is everyone all right?" asked the kid's teacher before she saw little Bakugo laying on top of what looked like a cheetah cub. But before she could ask what a cheetah was doing there, it changed back into Izuku. The only problem was that he had no clothes on. Quirk doctor's office. "Well, I am happy to tell you, Ms. Midoriya, that your son is healthy and that his quirk is a very unique one at that," said the doctor to the now happy mother, holding her also very happy son. "So what is his quirk, doctor, and is there any danger to it for him to use?" asked Inko. "Well, from what we could get from the equipment we used, and funny enough, we had to use a lot of equipment just to get the full picture of your son's quirk. By normal standards, your son is human, but when we looked at his DNA, we saw that it had special little proteins on it that could change and rearrange your son's DNA to that of other creatures in the animal kingdom," said the doctor, reading off the papers in his hand. "So what does that mean he can do?" asked Inko. "Well, in normal terms, your son can turn into not just other animals, but insects as well, and there is the possibility that he can do more. We just can tell with the info we have now. The best bet is to let him practice," said the doctor with a happy smile to the boy. Said boy was about to explode with happiness at hearing about his quirk. "You hear that, mommy? I can be a hero now," said little Izuku a little louder than needed. Inko was about to ask the doctor if he could be a hero with this quirk, but the doctor beat her to the punch. "Yes, you can, little one. You have a unique aspect to your quirk that can make you a hero," said the doctor to Izuku. "What do you mean, doctor, by he has a unique aspect to his quirk? Do you mean he is different from others with this quirk?" asked a confused Inko. "What I mean by it is that Izuku here can change shape to that of other creatures, but he can also change individual parts of his body instead of his whole body. You see, most people with shape-changing quirks can only change one part of their body or their whole body, not both," explained the doctor. "I understand now. One more question. What are the downsides to his quirk and how can he train it?" asked the worried mother. "From our tests, the only downsides to his quirk is that when he changes from it takes a good amount of energy to do, and he can only have one change at a time, cause after that he said that it hurt a little. But this might just be because he just got his quirk. The best way to change that is to build up his stamina and for him to get used to having multiple changes at once," said the doctor. "I understand. Doctor, thank you for your time," thanked the mother as her and her son left the office. On the way home, Inko called her husband to tell him the good news and to tell Mitsuki about Izuku's quirk. Bakugo house. As Inko and the other adults were talking, Bakugo and Izuku were upstairs talking about their quirks. "That's so cool, Kaken. You can make an explosion out of your hands," said an excited Izuku to Bakugo, who just stood there with a smirk on his face. "I know, but yours is pretty useful as well. Who knows, maybe one day you can be my sidekick when I become the #1 hero," said Bakugo with all the smugness a 4-year-old can have. Izuku was about to just agree with him when he stopped and thought, I know Kakin is strong, but I want to be the number one hero too. And in a rare moment of pride, Izuku looked at Bakugo and said, or maybe one day you could be my sidekick when I become the number one hero. With that, Bakugo just looked at Izuku with a weird look before it turned to anger, but then changed one more time to pride. So you want to be the number one hero too? Well, then we will just have to see who can get there first, said Bakugo as he reached his hand out to Izuku. Then let the best hero win, said Izuku as he grabbed Bakugo's hand. From that moment on, the two friends would push themselves to see who could become the number one hero. Time skip. Izuku 15 years old, end of middle school. Okay, class. It is that time of the year where you have to start thinking about your future and what you want to do. So I have these career sheets for you to fill out, said the teacher before throwing the papers in the air. But I know you all want to be heroes, exclaimed the teacher as the class exploded with the students showing off their quirks. As each student was showing their quirks, there were two in the back who didn't join them, and one of them was at his limit with the noise. Well, all you extras, just shut up already, said an angry Bakugo, as everyone went quiet. Besides, none of you can get into the hero course with your weak-ass quirks, said Bakugo with pride. Yes, if I am correct, you want to go to UA High, right? Said the teacher with a small smile, knowing that his two best students want to be heroes. Yes, that's right. Only the best can get into UA, which is why only me and Deku will get in, Bakugo said as everyone looked at him and the mentioned Izuku with awe. Izuku, a nice young man with short green hair and a rather well-kept body, stood up and put a hand on Bakugo, who he liked to call brother, to calm him down. Kakin, you can tone it down a little. I think they get the idea that we want to be heroes. There is no need to put people down like that, said Izuku, as Bakugo just huffed and sat down, whispering something under his breath about thunder stealing. As class ended and the duo left the class, Izuku was thinking about how things had gone since he got his quirk. How a Bakugo would train and practice with their quirks to get stronger, seeing each other as rivals and eventually brothers in everything but blood. They were always together. Though Bakugo would still act like a delinquent, Izuku was always the nice one who would stand up for others. This is just one of the benefits of his father coming back, because when he got back, he had got a house that was just across the street from the Bakugos, so that he and Masaru could work with each other easier, and so that their wives could have more time together. As the years went on, the boys would train and get stronger and improve their quirks. With Izuku loving quirks and being able to analyze them so easily, it helped Bakugo learn more about his quirk, and Bakugo helped Izuku with his quirk by giving him ideas on how he could use his quirk, which surprised Izuku because he didn't think Bakugo would know so much about animals, but then realized he was just talking about apex predators and scary animals. When it came to the boys' quirks, they probably had some of the best knowledge and control on their quirks compared to others of their age. Bakugo at his age could blast an explosion with the same power as a missile and had some ideas on some super moves, but he wouldn't tell Izuku about them. Izuku, on the other hand, probably had the most variety in his quirk, which Bakugo wouldn't let him forget or let his self-doubt get to. He learned that he could change into almost any creature that had existed in history, from an FLE to a giraffe, and even a T-Rex, which he made the mistake of changing into when he was talking to his parents about dinosaurs. He also learned that he could change more than just one part of his body instead of his whole body. At the moment, he could have 3 different changes at once without any trouble. But anymore, and he starts to feel exhausted. He learned this when he was racing Bakugo in the forest when them and their family went on a camping trip. Izuku had changed parts of his body to help him win the race. He had changed his legs into that of a grasshopper to increase his jump strength, his hands into that of an ape so that he could grab and swing from trees easier, and grew a tail to help with balance. As he and Bakugo were getting to the end of the race, Izuku wanted to go a little faster, so he tried to increase the muscles in his legs to that of the huntsman spider with grasshopper legs. But as soon as he did, he felt a pain in his body and became very tired to the point of almost passing out. From then on, he has tried to slowly increase the amount of changes he can have. But another thing happened to his body from changing so much. He had some permanent changes to his body that he couldn't change or turn off. Since he would change to make himself into a better human, some characteristics stayed. One being that he had a small healing factor from using the regeneration of a starfish and increasing the cell growth in his body from other creatures with healing factors. When not changed or using other creatures' regeneration, he heals faster than a normal human. so a small cut would be fully healed in minutes. Another change was his body. It was taller than normal, standing at a height of 6 feet 1 inch, and his strength was a bit better, being able to lift the same weight as the world's strongest men. Before quirks come about, all while not using his quirk, and finally his senses were a lot better than a normal person's. "Ha Deku, I am talking to you," yelled Bakugo to Izuku. "Oh sorry, lost in thought. What were we talking about, Kakin?" asked Izuku with a hand behind his head. "We were talking about how the UA exams are coming up and how we are going to get ready for them," said Bakugo with his arms crossed. "That's right. So do you still want to train alone so that we can truly see who is the best, or train together like always?" asked Izuku. "I want to train alone. Can't let you know all my secrets, can I?" said Bakugo. "I understand. Well, you can head home without me. I still need to get some stuff from the store," said Izuku as he walked off. 2 hours later, Izuku was walking back home, going a back way to avoid the crowds of people and noise that annoyed him because of his hearing. He also enjoyed the back ways because he could get places faster. As he was walking, he heard the sounds of screaming and someone calling for help, and as soon as he heard it, he ran. He arrived at a scene with people all around. There were multiple heroes around, and he was trying to get a view on the scene, but couldn't until he grew a little protrusion on his hands and feet, which now had no shoes on, that allowed him to climb the building like Spider-Man. When he reached a balcony, he looked down and saw a sludge-like creature fighting off the heroes, but to him it looked weird, like it was being pushed apart, until he saw a hand come out. When Izuku knew it had a hostage, he looked and saw it was a girl about his age, and from the looks of it, she couldn't breathe. She was trying her best to get the villain off her, but to no success. That's when she looked up and saw him standing there, and with just one look he lost it. Izuku's animal instincts mixed with his heroic heart caused him to move. He was going to save that girl if it was the last thing he would do. So with a mighty jump, he leaped off the balcony toward the villain. The villain and the heroes were not ready when out of nowhere a green-haired teen jumped in and threw his backpack at the villain, hitting him in the eyes. As Izuku landed, the heroes behind him told him to come back and to get away from the villain, but he tuned them out. Charging at the villain, Izuku grabbed the girl's hand and pulled with all his might. He pulled her out a little, but the villain wasn't giving up. After he recovered from the backpack, the villain started to attack Izuku with whip-like tendrils from his body. The girl saw this and closed her eyes, not wanting to see someone get hurt. But to her surprise, she heard the boy start laughing. She opened her eyes to see the boy's shirt ripped where he was hit, but instead of seeing skin, she saw armor. Izuku, before he got hit, changed the skin on his torso to that of a pangolin plate to protect himself. As the villain kept hitting Izuku, he was slowly getting the girl out of the villain's grasp, to the point she could breathe again. Before the villain could stop him, Izuku grew more arms on his body and grabbed the girl and pulled her out. Once Izuku pulled the girl out, the force of pulling and a sudden into a tug of war, he and the girl were sent flying back, with Izuku holding the girl to him as his still armored body to the brunt of the damage. They came to a stop and Izuku put the girl down and asked if she was okay. "Are you okay, miss? Does anything hurt?" asked a worried Izuku to the girl. "No, I am okay. But watch out," the girl said as she pointed to the villain. Izuku turned around to see the villain staring at him with murder in his eyes. "Kid, I don't know who the fuck you think you are, but I will not be bested by some snot-nosed brat," yelled the villain as he charged at Izuku, but stopped short when he felt something he wasn't ready for: fear. All he felt was the overwhelming sense of fear and the want to run away. When he looked at Izuku, he was scared. Izuku, as soon as the villain charged at him, let out a lot of killing intent from his body, using a mix of pheromones from different animals to give the impression of an apex predator standing in front of someone. Because to all animals, and even humans, we all have a sense of danger that tells us when to run and hide, and Izuku was using that fact to his advantage. As he did this, Izuku got in a stance to protect the girl, which to the bystanders and heroes, Izuku looked like a demonic Asura from Hindu mythology, with 6 arms and armor chest, and unknown to Izuku, dark crimson-red eyes, ready to fight the villain with all his might. The villain pushed his fear away and began to charge again, bashing right into Izuku, who had pushed the girl out of the way so she did not get hurt, and began to fight the villain. He used his arms to push the villain off him and to grab at the villain's only weak spot, his eyes, until he realized that he was getting tired. "Oh no, I forgot that I had trained hard last night, and was still tired. At this rate, if I don't end this soon, I will be no better than the girl was just minutes ago. I need to think, thought Izuku as he continued to fight. Think, what can I do to this villain? Physical attacks don't do anything. It is like fighting a big blob of slime. And it doesn't help that he is all like a mass of liquid muscles. That's it, he is like a liquid, and liquids were conductive, thought Izuku as he was about to put his plan into action. To the surprise of everyone watching, Izuku pushed himself deeper into the villain, with the girl scared that the boy would die because of her, until the villain stopped moving and steamed. They looked at the villain with confusion until they started to see electricity coming from the villain. Once all this happened, the villain fell off Izuku, who now looked more human, but his skin was a dark green with electricity coming from him. Good thing electric eels are resistant to their electrical current, or that would have been a bad idea, though Izuku as he walked to the girl to check if she was still okay. Once the heroes saw that the villain was down, they moved in, and with some time collected the villain and put him away. Death Arms walked over to Izuku, who was getting treated by a medic. "Is the kid okay, Doc?" asked Death Arms to the medic. "Yep, just some scrapes that have already healed and are a little exhausted. Some sleep and he should be okay," responded the medic. "Okay, go. Is it okay if I talk to the kid for a sec?" he asked, and the medic went to check on others. Death Arms moved forward to talk to Izuku and the onlookers while taking photos and videos. "Kid, you know what you did was extremely dangerous, and you could have gotten seriously hurt or even killed, not to mention the illegal quirk usage," Death Arms told the boy, who just looked sad. Death Arms leaned in and put a hand on the boy's shoulder and whispered to him, "But overall, a good job. Thank you for the help and for saving the girl. I can see you being a great hero one day. Can't wait to work with you," he said before walking to the crowd of people to talk. Izuku got the okay to leave by the medic a little later and started to walk home, but after getting away from the people and heroes, he heard something behind him. "Hey, you wait," he heard from a female voice in rough Japanese. Izuku turned around to see the girl he just saved. "Yes, what is it? Are you okay after you were attacked?" he asked the girl. "Sorry, my Japanese bad, but thank you," the girl said in her best Japanese before going to English halfway through. "You're welcome, and it is good to see you are okay," Izuku said back in perfect English. The girl looked surprised, and then something happened. "You can speak English, that makes this so much easier. Dang, here I thought I would make a fool of myself by my bad Japanese," said the girl in English to Izuku. "Yeah, my dad taught me English, and it's okay," said Izuku as he got a better look at the girl. Pony was a short girl with a round face and a short equine muzzle, framed by thick, wavy blonde hair that reached halfway down her back, some shorter bangs hanging down her forehead. Her eyes are large and round, Prussian blue, and she has a pair of tall, lyre-shaped pale tan horns on her head. Her calves are notably rounded, shaped similarly to those of a horse, and she has brown hooves for feet and a short horse tail poking out from the end of her tailbone. "Oh, where are my manners? My name is Pony Tsunatori, but please call me Pony. Nice to meet you, and once again thank you for saving me," said the now introduced Pony. Izuku just smiled. "You don't have to thank me. I was just doing the right thing," he said with his smile growing wider from the thought of acting like a hero. "But you were awesome out there. You had like 6 arms and armor for skin, but then you electrocuted that villain. Wait, now that I think about it, what is your quirk, if you don't mind me asking?" asked Pony. "It's okay. My quirk is called Animal Kingdom. It can be a little confusing, but in short, I have the power of all the animals to have ever walked this earth," exploded Izuku with a big smile, being able to talk about his quirk with someone unknown to Izuku. But when he told Pony about his quirk, the girl got excited, because she loved animals, and right in front of her was a walking, talking animal encyclopedia. "If you don't mind me asking, what is your quirk? I think it has to do with the horns on your head, right?" asked a curious Izuku. "Yes, you're right. My quirk is called Horn Cannon, and it lets me launch and control my horns at will. I can only control 4 at a time, but it is something," said Pony, not thinking her quirk was as cool as Izuku's. "That's so cool. You could fight people on multiple different fronts, or use them to carry things. How much can they carry? Can you fly with them? Can you shoot more than 4, or is that the limit right now? Are your legs a mutation as well?" Izuku started to mutter like a freak before he was cut off by the sound of laughter. "Ha ha ha. Sorry, I don't mean to laugh. It is just, I have never seen someone so interested in quirks before. I think it's a little cute, said Pony, still laughing. Izuku blushed like a tomato from being caught muttering again and for having a rather cute girl call him cute. Sorry, whenever someone talks about quirks or animals, I go off on a muttering spree and I don't stop until I am done or someone stops me, he said while rubbing the back of his head. It's okay. But now with a quirk like yours, are you trying to be a hero? Asked Pony. Yes, I am. I am trying to get into UA High. What about you? What brings you to Japan? He asked Pony. Yep. I want to be a hero, so I thought coming to one of the best hero schools in the world would make that dream a reality, said Pony with a smile. Nice. I think you would make a great hero with your quirk and your personality, but you might want to work on your Japanese, said Izuku as he laughed a little at the look on Pony's face. I know. I have tried to learn, but it is hard to learn a new language alone, she said. Would you like me to help you? I can help you learn Japanese if you want, Izuku offered. Yes, please, that would be a big help. Thank you. Sorry, I don't think I got your name, she asked. Izuku Midoriya. Nice to meet you. After that, they shared numbers with each other, and they both walked each other home, or more like Izuku walked Pony to her apartment that she was using when she was going to school in Japan. Once he dropped Pony off, he started walking back home only to stop and feel his phone vibrating in his pocket. When he pulled it out, he saw that he had 40 missed calls and 10 unread messages, mostly from his mother and father with some from his aunt and uncle, but all the messages were from Bakugo. Well, I am dead when I get back. If not by mom and dad, then Kaken will blow my ass up, Izuku thought as he went into an alley and started to run back home, climbing and jumping from building to get home faster. Few minutes later, Midoriya household. Hey Mom-ho. Izuku was cut off when his very overprotective mother tackled and almost hugged him to death. When did Mom get a super strength quirk was all Izuku could think with his air being cut off by his mother. Inko, if you don't stop, you might kill the boy before you can see if he is okay. Izuku heard his Aunt Mitsuki talk to his mother before she let go of him, letting him breathe. Izuku, are you okay? Does anything hurt? Why did you fight that villain? I was so scared. His mother asked questions left and right, then started to mutter herself, crying motherly tears. So that's who I get that from. Izuku now knew why he mutters. Mom, I'm okay, see? No damage, no permanent injury. I'm safe, Izuku said to calm his mother. You caused any injury, you had healed before you got here. And it's not like that weak-ass villain could break your armor plates so easily. Hell, my explosions have trouble with them sometimes, said Bakugo, now coming out of the house to see him with his father and Izuku's father as well. But what happened to your shirt and pants? And where are your shoes? Asked Inko, who was now a lot calmer. It was at this moment that Izuku realized that he had no shirt or shoes on, and his long pants were now more like shorts. Don't you remember, Inko? Your son saved that cute girl from that villain by using his quirk. Good job, by the way, brat, too, said Mitsuki as she smiled at Izuku. Speaking of that, she was a pretty cute girl, and it did take you a while to get back home after the attack. So what were you up to then? Asked Izuku's father with a sly smile and a raised eyebrow. Izuku, though, was in his own little world, thinking to himself. Talked and walked with Pony all the way back to her place, barely clothed. What does she think now? Oh God, must have looked like an idiot. So her name is Pony, and you walked her home. Yep, that's my kid, said Hisashi with a pride-filled smile at his son. Izuku didn't realize that he had said all of that out loud. Now he has a pride-filled father, a happy uncle, a smirking aunt, a happy mother, and a brother with a shit-eating grin on his face, giving Izuku a thumbs up. Couple months later. After Izuku finished explaining himself to his family, he threw himself back into his training. He also started hanging out with Pony to help her learn Japanese and to help her with her quirk, but most of the time, they just had fun with each other. On one of the few days that Izuku and Bakugo trained together, Izuku saw a really big problem. Hey Deku, you can't fight to save your life. I mean, most of your attacks are just basic things. So you need to learn how to fight, Bakugo said. Now that Izuku thought about it, his brother wasn't wrong. Most of the time when he fights, he just goes off instant and basic attacks he knows. But if that's all he does, then he would not do well in a lot of fights, especially if he fights someone with actual training. You make a good point. Why don't I come train at your dojo? Asked Izuku. No, my dojo and the fighting style they teach is not one that would suit you. My dojo is more rigid and static in their fighting. You need something that moves and is okay for the added limbs of yours. Bakugo replied. Well, I can look and see if I can find one around. But in other news, how has your training been going? I can see that you have gotten better with your quirk. Izuku asked to switch the conversation. Yes, soon not even you will be able to stand my explosion, Bakugo said with pride. The two brothers continued to spar with each other until it was time for dinner. Next day. Okay, if I am right, the dojo should be around here somewhere. Izuku was looking for a dojo he found online. It wasn't the best dojo, but I did have something he was interested in. It mainly focused on training those with mutation quirks that change the body. While Izuku's quirk is not a mutation, it does still change his body. After a little bit more looking, Izuku finally found the place. Okay, finally, this place was a lot more difficult to find than I thought, Izuku said aloud to himself before walking in. As soon as he entered, he was greeted by the sight of a lot of people training. Some looked normal with no changes to their bodies, but some had some big changes. He saw a man with two tails that looked like scorpion tails. He saw a woman with the body of a snake, and another woman with the lower body of a spider. Cool is all Izuku could say on the sight. Before he could get too engrossed in the classes, he was brought out of his thoughts by a voice to his side. Hello, my name is Hyokendo, and this is my dojo. What can I do for you today? Said a tall, orange-haired man. Hi, my name is Izuku Midoriya, and I would like to sign up to train here, Izuku said to the man. Perfect, then you have made the right choice. If you will follow me into my office, we can start the paperwork, Hayo told the boy. As Izuku entered the office, he sat down across from Hayo. The two started talking and doing paperwork. All right, kiddo, we are almost done, just have to get your info so that we can put you in the right class. Are you okay with telling me your info? Hayo asked. No problem, sir. What do you need to know? Izuku was ready to get the paper done so he could train. Please, you can just call me Kendo-sensei, and I just need to know your height, weight, and what fighting style you would like to learn, asked Hayo. I am 6 feet 1 inch, I weigh 188 pounds, and I would like to learn a fighting style that I can use with extra limbs, responded Izuku. Okay, all good. If you don't mind, what is your quirk? Most people that want to learn that style have a mutation quirk or something of the like, he asked. My quirk is called Animal Kingdom. I can basically become any animal I want and manifest different animal features on parts of my body. Izuku expanded, changing his hand to a claw and growing a tail as demonstration. Impressive, you might just be the perfect student for someone, Hayo said to Izuku's confusion. After a minute or two, the two were done and Hayo called for someone, and soon a girl about his age arrived at the door. You called? What do you need me to do, Dad? Asked the girl who looked very similar to Hayo. Itsuka, can you help our new student here get a training GI and introduce him to his new sensei? Hayo asked the now introduced Itsuka. Sure. Think, Dad. Come, newbie. Let's get you ready for training, said Itsuka as she pulled Izuku out of the room. After putting on multiple GI that were too big and too small, Izuku finally had a good-fitting GI on. Is this how it is supposed to be worn? Izuku asked, feeling weird in the GI. Yes and no. These GI are made for people with mutations or transformation quirks. And with you it is weird because you can change to different things rather than just one change, so getting the right GI is hard. But that one should work for you, said Itsuka. All right, I will take your word for it. Thank you, miss. I think your name was Itsuka, said Izuku. Oh, yeah, sorry for not introducing myself. My name is Itsuka Kendo. Nice to meet you. Introduced Itsuka. Nice to meet you too. I am Izuku Midoriya, Izuku said to introduce himself. If you don't mind me asking, what made you want to come here and train? Asked Itsuka. No problem at all. I came here to train because I need real fighting skills to help me when I become a hero, Izuku said, smiling. Oh, you want to be a hero too? Exclaimed Itsuka, thinking that she might have found a future classmate. Wait, you want to be a hero too? Izuku asked. Yep, I am taking the entrance exam for UA here in the next couple months. What about you? Asked Itsuka. Same, I am going to try for UA as well. As the two kept talking, they learned a lot about the other, one being that Itsuka was trying to master all 3 fighting styles taught at her family's dojo. She already masters her mother's Taekwondo and her father's Muay Thai. Now she is learning the last one taught by a family friend, the same friend who she is taking Izuku to see. As they two walked over to the training area, Izuku saw a woman sitting in the center of the room. She had long navy blue hair, A well-maintained body, not too muscular, but still enough to show the time she has put into her craft, and she was also extremely pretty in Izuku's eyes. But then again, every girl to Izuku is pretty. As he removed those thoughts from his head, the woman began to move. "So you are the new student I have been told about, Izuku Midoriya, if I am correct?" said the woman, looking at Izuku. "Yes, I am nice to meet you," said Izuku, giving a small bow. "Fight me," is all Izuku heard from the woman. Izuku just looked at the woman with confusion on his face. "Did you hear me? I said fight me. From there I will see if you are worth training or not," she said, with Itsuka stepping to the side to give them space. Izuku steeled himself and got into a basic stance, but the GI made it weird. But before he could even move from the stance, he was stopped. "You are forcing your stance. Get into a stance that comes naturally to you, and if the GI is giving you trouble, make it to where it doesn't," said the woman to Izuku. "A stance that comes natural and change the GI," Izuku thought to himself before he let his instincts take over. Ripping the sleeves and the lower part of the GI pants off, while also undoing the belt a little to loosen it up, and finally making a hole in the back by forcing a monkey tail to grow from his tailbone. With his instincts in control, Izuku manifested more than just the tail. His nails sharpened, his teeth became as sharp as razors, and his eyes turned that same crimson red as they did when he was fighting the sludge villain. The woman just smiled as she got ready to fight Izuku and test his potential. Izuku dropped to all fours, lunging at the woman, swinging his claws at her. All she did was sidestep the attack, only to have to duck a sec after from the scorpion-like tail aiming at her stomach. As she ducked, she palm-striked Izuku in the back, knocking him on his face. Izuku got back up, changing his body again to look like it did when he fought the sludge villain, with 6 arms and an armored layer of pangolin plates on him going from his feet to his neck. He engaged with the woman, trying to overwhelm her with attacks, but she dodged them with ease and countered him with simple attacks. Until Izuku got a hold of her leg with a tentacle from his back, pulling her in and throwing her off balance. Using this chance, Izuku threw a flurry of blows at the woman, who still smiled at him, but Izuku saw something in her eyes. And the minute he saw it, he was sent flying into a wall, with the woman just standing there with a reptilian-like tail coming from her tailbone. "That's enough. I have seen all I need to see," the woman said, turning away from Izuku as he pulled himself from the wall, deactivating his quirk. "Well, there goes my chance of training here. Maybe I can find a different gym that can help." Izuku's thoughts were interrupted by a light blue belt hitting him in the face. "Congratulations, you have passed my test with flying colors," said the woman with a big smile on her face. "Wait, what?" is all Izuku could say with his mouth agape. "No way, how did you get that belt?" Itsuka screamed at Izuku, pointing at the belt. "What is there something special about it?" Izuku asked. "Special? That belt symbolizes that you are her personal disciple. No one has gotten that belt ever since she got here," explained Itsuka with a gobsmacked look. Izuku just looked at the belt with his eyes wide. "Yes, she is right. From now on, you are my direct disciple and the sole inheritor of my true fighting style, Ingja, also known as animal style. So from now on, you will learn from me how to fight and master yourself, all one-on-one. For only my true disciple can learn this style," exclaimed the woman with pride at her new student. "Wait, so you will train me and I am your direct and only disciple? That's awesome. Thank you so much, sensei. I promise to give it my all and to make you proud," Izuku exclaimed with a big smile on his face at his new sensei. "Good, then from this day forward, call me Tiamat sensei," said Tiamat to her new student. "Wait, Tiamat sensei, how did he pass the test? Many have tried and all failed. Even I failed. So how did he pass?" questioned Itsuka to Tiamat. "My test is not to see if one can beat me. It is to see if they can use the style and the subforms of it, and to see if they can go past what I can teach." Izuka did this by showing that he is not locked to one set stance or style, and by making me use my quirk, which no one has done since I started teaching, explained Tiamat as Itsuka just stood there stunned. "Akindo, I am sorry if I offended you. I know you wanted to learn and master all the styles, but..." Izuku was cut off by Itsuka turning around with a giant smile on her face. "Offended? No way. Finally, I have someone that can give me a challenge, and you get to learn the greatest style in the world. From now on, you and I are rivals and best friends going forward," Itsuka said with fire in her eyes. Izuku just smiled nervously and nodded his head agreeing with Itsuka before he turned to look at his teacher. Tiamat-sensei, sorry to ask, but you said I made you use your quirk. What is your quirk if you don't mind telling me? Izuku asked. Not at all, my student, and I will do better. I will tell you about the style that has been passed down in my family all the way to me. Itsuka, you can stay and listen if you would like to, seeing that you look like you are about to explode from curiosity, said Tiamat as Izuka looked at Itsuka and agreed with Tiamat that the girl was about to explode. Izuka sees stars in her eyes. Now to start, I will tell you about my quirk. It is called Leviathan. In short, I can transform into that of the mighty creature known as Leviathan, said Tiamat, showing her tail to the two teens. Wait, what's a Leviathan? Asked Kendo. Before Tiamat could answer, Izuku had already started talking. A Leviathan is a mythical creature known to be massive sea creatures. They are also called sea dragons as well. Most take the appearance of a massive serpent with fins and a dragon-like head, explained Izuku. Yep, that is exactly right. I can become a massive serpent up to 50 feet long. The only difference is that in that form I also have feet and wings, taking more of the traits of Western Leviathans than Easterns, said Tiamat. Itsuka just nodded her head, trying to imagine what a Leviathan looks like. Now continuing on, about the style. Ingga is a fighting style that has been passed from generation to generation in my family, each person adding to it and changing it to make it the best it can be. You see, in my family, we all have transformation quirks that give you the appearance of animals and mythological creatures. Each one of us changes the style to fit our own bodies and abilities. But you can use all of them with your ability to change and adapt to different forms. You learn not just my form, but that of my whole family, hence why you are my chosen disciple, said Tiamat as Izuka thought of all the different forms that the style could have, but then he thought of something. Wait, but I can only turn into creatures that actually exist. I wouldn't be able to do some of the stuff your family did, Izuku said with a little sadness in his eyes. Actually, you can. Most things based in myth have real-world counterparts. For example, the phoenix can die and come back to life. In the real world, there is a jellyfish that can die and be reborn and live forever, she said to Izuku. So that means I could use the abilities of the style to their max and past that. Izuku thought out loud as he started to think of all the good he could do with these skills. Now there is one thing about the style that I can teach you, and that's the self form. It is where the person makes their own unique form of the style to have as their own in the cycle of the fighting style. I can't help you with it because you have to make it to fit you. Can you do this? Tiamat asked, and Izuku just nodded with determination in his eyes. 2 months till UA exam. It's been about 4 months since Izuku started his training with Tiamat. In that time, Izuku has come a long way in his training, learning a good amount of Ingga from Tiamat. At the same time, Izuku and Itsuka spent a lot of their free time at the dojo together. They were always pushing the other to do better and occasionally would spare each other, just like they are now. And with that, I win. That's 72 wins for me and 68 wins for you, said an exhausted Izuku, putting his hand out to help Itsuka up from the mat. Yayo, I know, but at least the gap between our scores is getting closer, reminded Itsuka. Over the months, the two got along quite well, learning new things about each other. For Itsuka, she learned that Izuku would normally sleep in an animal form and said something about it feeling more normal. She learned this when Izuku finished training with Tiamat one day. He went to a corner and changed into a big wolf and just fell asleep right there. Izuku, on the other hand, learned that Itsuka spent way too much time at the dojo. She didn't do very much outside of the dojo. She had plenty of friends, but she wasn't into overly girly things, and her friends weren't into some of the stuff she likes. But luckily, Izuku was an open person to new things. Sometimes he and Itsuka would go out and have some fun. When Tiamat would release Izuku early, they would go to the movies, axe throwing, a motorcycle show, and even the zoo, which was funny to see for Itsuka, seeing Izuku have a staring competition with a lizard and somehow win. Overall, they enjoyed the time they spent together. Alright, well, I have to get going. See you soon, Izuku told Itsuka as he walked to leave the dojo. You know where to find me, she replied back. As Izuku walked out of the dojo and started heading back home, his phone started to ring. He pulled his phone out to see who it was. When he looked, he saw it was Pony calling. "Ha, Pony, what's up?" asked Izuku into the phone. "Not much. How are you free today?" asked Pony. Not today, Mom and Dad want me for something, but I am free all day tomorrow. Does that work? Izuku responded. Perfect. Want to meet at the train station around 11? Asked Pony. Sounds good to me. See you then, Izuku said while ending the call. Wonder what made her want to hang out all of the sudden, Izuku thought. Back at the Midoriya house. Mom, Dad, I'm home, Izuku said as he walked into the house. Hi, honey. How was training today? Asked his mother. Pretty good. Tiamat-sensei has been pushing me more each day. It is fun learning to fight. It will most definitely help me when I become a hero, Izuku said as he walked to his mother, who was in the kitchen cooking. When he entered the room, he saw his mother cooking, but he also saw his aunt helping her with his dad and uncle sitting at the table talking. Hi everyone. Wasn't expecting to see you, Ani and uncle. What is the occasion? Asked Izuku while giving hugs to everyone. Well, your dad and Mizuru closed a big deal today, and it is almost time for you and my brat to go to UA, so we thought we would have a get-together to celebrate the amount of time and effort you two put into your training and studies, said Mitsuki. The night went on with the Midoriyas and Bakugos enjoying the time they spent and with the boys talking about their training. The next day, Izuku waited at the train station in a blue button-down t-shirt with a white undershirt, some jeans, and his favorite red shoes. As he was waiting, he looked at the time, seeing that it was on 10:50. He still had 10 minutes to go. Izuku arrived 15 minutes early like any gentleman should, and because he wanted to try and come up with an idea of what to do with Pony for the day. There's the movies, and the arcade, or maybe an anime convention. Izuku thought to himself for a little before he heard someone calling his name. Hi Izuku, hope you weren't waiting long. Are you ready for a day together? Said Pony as she walked up to Izuku, who took a sec to look at what she was wearing. Pony was wearing a tan sleeveless crop top, skinny jeans, with a pair of sunglasses on her head. Don't worry, I just got here a minute ago myself, and yes I am. So what did you have in mind for today? Izuku asked to see if she had something planned for them to do. Well, I was wondering if you would be okay going to a rodeo. I found a little outside town, said Pony with a little blush on her cheeks. Sounds like fun. This will be my first time going to one, but I trust you, and most of the stuff you recommend is good. So let's go, Izuku said with a smile on his face, just happy to hang out with Pony. Yeah? Let's go then. Hurry, hurry, Pony said excitedly as she pulled Izuku by the arm. Izuku felt a strange feeling when Pony grabbed his arm, but it wasn't unpleasant. It actually felt good, like warmth washing over him. The ride over to the location of the rodeo was only a 30-minute train ride, and then a 5-minute walk from there. As they were on the train, Pony told Izuku what a rodeo was and all the cool things you can do. When they got off the train and started walking to the location, Pony looked at Izuku and asked him a question. Hey Izuku, can I ask you a question? You just did, Izuku said jokingly. I'm serious, Pony said, causing Izuku to stop joking around. You can ask me anything, said Izuku to the now blushing girl. What are your thoughts on me? Like, what do you like about me, and is there something you don't like? The girl asked, causing Izuku to think for a second. I mean, what do I think? Well, you are one of my best friends, and as for stuff I like, the list, it is too long to even start naming things. But if I had to pick the important ones, it would be that you are always looking to have fun, you always wish to make others happy, and that you don't look at me weird when I mutter from time to time. As for things I don't like, I can't think of any. Why do you ask? Said Izuku to Pony, who had stopped and stepped to the side for a moment. Well, I asked because I also think of you as the same as my best friend, but I also have the feeling of wanting to see you as more. I mean, you have been the nicest person to me since I got to Japan. You helped me learn Japanese when I struggled with it. You went out of your way to help me with my quirk and to help show me around, all without asking for a single thing. You see, back home, I was made fun of because of my quirk and mutation, and seeing you just accept it and even praise them, well, it really makes me happy. And well, what I am trying to say is, Pony was becoming a tomato, about to ask her question, only to be stopped by Izuku answering the question before she asked. Yes, said Izuku. What, but you don't even know what I was going to ask, said Pony. Actually, I do know, and my answer is still yes, but to make it fair, I will ask myself as well. Izuku said, will walk up to Pony, grabbing her hands and holding them softly on his own. Will you be my girlfriend, Pony? Asked Izuku, looking Pony in the eyes. Pony was stunned. She was afraid that Izuku would reject her, that he would leave her. But here he was, the person she looked to the most, and just answered her very important question before she asked it, and asked her the same question without hesitation. With tears of happiness appearing in her eyes, Pony jumped on Izuku and gave him a big kiss on the lips. "So I take that as a yes then?" Izuku asked with a smug look on his face. "Yes, you dummy. Yes, I will be your girlfriend," Pony replied with a large smile on her face. Izuku just smiled and picked Pony up in his arms and spinning her around with her, just laughing and smiling. "So I assume this would be a first date, then if I'm not wrong?" asked Izuku with a raised eyebrow. "Only if you want it to be," Pony said, smirking at Izuku. With that, the two grabbed each other's hand and walked to the rodeo to enjoy their first date. With Izuku getting that warm feeling again, but stronger this time, and the overwhelming urge to protect Pony at any cost, which just made him smile given he would protect her either way. The two teens enjoyed that date. Izuku tried American food and some of the cowboy-themed games, winning Pony with an old Western-style sheriff's badge pillow that read "Protector of your comfort." All while Pony showed her skills in most of the games she and Izuku did together. They both tried the Robo-Bull ride to see who could last longer, with Izuku having to stick himself to the bull like a spider just to try and beat Pony. It would have worked if Pony didn't see him cheating and called him out on it, causing him to forfeit the win to her. "I had fun today. Do you?" Izuku asked the girl to his right. "It has been a great day so far. But hey, before we go, let's see the bull show first, then we can head back to town," Pony suggested. "Works for me," Izuku said, heading towards where the bull show was. There was a big fence in the area that you can stand on the other side of to see what the bulls and the performers are doing. When they walked up to the fence, Izuku saw people climbing on the fence to get a better view, when he looked down to see Pony about to do the same, only for Izuku to pick her up and put her on his shoulders and increase his size so that he and Pony could see the show easily. The show was composed of people dodging charging bulls, doing acrobatics and last-second evasions, putting on a good show. At one point, they had a guy with a strength quirk fight the biggest bull they had. It was interesting to see this beast of a man struggle to hold back the bull, but after a good attempt, the guy gave up, and they got the bull back in the cage. "That was pretty cool to see," Izuku said. "I know, and did you see the size of that bull? That guy could lift a ton in one hand, and yet he still couldn't stop the bull," Pony said with excitement still on Izuku's shoulders. The two were making their way to the exit when they heard screaming behind them. When they turned around, they saw a stampede of people running to them. On instinct, Izuku got Pony off his shoulders, held her tight to his chest, and grew pangolin plates on his back, facing the stampede. People kept running past and over Izuku and Pony, with Izuku protecting Pony until the strength quirk guy shoved Izuku out of the way. Once Izuku got up, he looked around for Pony to make sure she was okay. After looking for a sec, he found her against a tree, but with a face of fear. Izuku looked in the direction she was looking to see the bull rampaging around and about to charge Pony. Izuku bolted toward Pony to get her out of the way, but he wouldn't have time. So he did the next best thing. He planted himself firmly to the ground in front of Pony, grabbing the bull's horns and increasing his strength to that of the Hercules beetle, and stopped the bull in its tracks. All of this happening in less than 5 seconds. All the people that ran turned around to see Izuku locked in a pushing battle with the bull, both pushing up as they push, until Izuku heard Pony behind him start to cry and whine. When he turned his head, he saw that she was pretty bruised up, and it looked like her ankle was twisted or sprained. Seeing this, Izuku got pissed and turned back to the bull, wanting to relieve some anger. Izuku pulled the bull's head towards himself, moving to the side, as he set a knee straight to the side of the bull's neck, knocking the air out of its throat, sending it to the ground. Izuku let go of the horns and made his way to Pony. He saw the relief in her eyes, but he also saw the fear when she pointed behind him, and he heard the bull charging towards him. With the last of his anger, Izuku changed his right arm's muscular end to that of the mantis shrimp and kept the Hercules beetle strength, and finally added some ankylosing plates on his hand like a gauntlet, quickly turned and punched the bull in the jaw, knocking the mighty beast out cold. With the bull out cold, Izuku recomposed himself and turned back towards Pony to make sure she was okay. "Pony, your leg, are you okay?" Izuku asked with worry on his face. Pony, on the other hand, was dumbfounded at what her boyfriend just did. First, he stopped a charging bull dead in its tracks, the same bull that a man with a strength quirk couldn't beat. Then proceeded to knock the bull out in one punch, and he is putting it off like it is nothing, worrying about her small sprain that would heal in a week. Altogether, Pony thoughts were cemented in her mind. I have the best boyfriend ever. I'm okay, Izuku, but that was awesome what you did, Pony said, smiling at her boyfriend. This made Izuku's worry leave him, seeing that she wasn't hurt too bad and that she was still in good spirits. With a smile, Izuku picked up Pony in a princess carry and started walking back to the train station. Pony started to blush from the action before leaning in and wrapping her arms around his neck, smiling. Back on the train. By the time Izuku got himself and Pony on the train, it was night out, and there were not many people around. Izuku was still carrying Pony, who had fallen asleep at this point, in his arms. Izuku enjoyed his time with Pony, and he hoped that the bull rampaging didn't make Pony enjoy it less. Izuku sat in a seat close to the door with Pony still asleep in his lap. After a short time, the train started moving, and the sudden shift caused Pony to wake up. Hey, where am I? Pony asked, looking around, realizing she was on a train. Hey, sleepyhead, how was your nap? Asked Izuku, still holding Pony, who, after realizing where she was and what her boyfriend was doing, started to blush like a tomato. Pony tried to get out of Izuku's arms, but as soon as she did, she felt Izuku's hold get tighter. Pony looked at Izuku to ask why he was holding her so tight. Please, if it's okay with you, can we just stay like this a little longer? Asked Izuku, not wanting to let Pony go, enjoying the warmth he felt from holding her. Pony thought for a second, then leaned back into Izuku's chest, hugging him. The two teens stayed quiet on the train, enjoying the company of the other. As the train got close to their stop, Izuku broke the silence. Hey, I don't know about you, but I enjoyed our little date, Izuku said, smiling. For a first date, it was interesting, but I am just happy that I could be with you, Pony said, leaning into Izuku, kissing him on the cheek. Izuku, not ready for the kiss, turned into a cherry at the action, not noticing that his quirk activated, growing a wolf's tail that started wagging like crazy. Pony, seeing the tail grow and start wagging, just started laughing, thinking that it was adorable like a little puppy. After Izuku got over the kiss and put his tail away, he started to think about Pony's ankle. Pony, is your ankle okay? Does it still hurt? Asked Izuku. Pony tried to stand, but as soon as she did, her ankle gave out, with Izuku catching her. It doesn't hurt as much, and it's not that bad, but I don't think I will walk for a couple days, responded Pony. I can't let her be by herself with her ankle like this. What should I do? Well, I could bring her to my house and have Mom and Ani help her, but if I do that, then I would never hear the end of it from them, and Kakin will just have more ammo to make fun of me. Oh, what should I do? Izuku was having an argument with himself about what to do. As the train came to a stop, Izuku made up his mind, and he was going to bite the bullet. Pony, if it's okay with you, I can take you to my house where my mother and aunt can help with your ankle. I don't want to just leave you alone to deal with it. Is that okay? Izuku asked. Pony only had one thought on her mind after hearing that. Meet Izuku's family. He wants me to meet his family. What does this mean? Pony was completely lost on her own. She didn't notice Izuku trying to get her attention. Pony, Pony, Pony. After Izuku tried for the third time, Pony finally snapped out of her absence. Amaya, it's okay with me. We can go to your place, Pony said, blushing, still thinking about meeting Izuku's parents. With that settled, Izuku picked Pony up again and started walking to his house. As the two teens walked through the nightlife town, with people having good times and hanging with friends and family. The town is very lively at night, it seems, said Pony. Yeah, a lot of people come out and have fun. It's always nice to see people having fun, said Izuku. After looking at the town, Izuku got an idea that would be a nice real ending to their date rather than the bull attack being the end. Ha, Pony, before we get to my house, is it okay if I show you something I think you might like? Asked Izuku. Pony just nodded her head. With the confirmation, Izuku ducked into an alley, setting Pony down for a second. Izuku took his top shirt off before ripping holes in the back of his undershirt. Pony was confused before seeing Izuku sprout big black wings out his back, picking her up, and started flying. Pony, after seeing Izuku grow wings, was speechless. To her, Izuku looked like some kind of angel. Well, Izuku was thinking to himself, I got lucky this time. I have never tried growing wings that are still in human form. Guess things like that grow to match the size of my body is needed. Good to know. After gaining altitude for a little, Izuku stopped. So what do you think? Asked Izuku, nodding to the view. When Pony looked, she saw that they were hovering high enough to see all of their town, and then some. She saw the buildings all lit up with lights, and the moon high in the sky gave the view even more beauty. In short, she was captivated by the view. After spending a little time hovering, Izuku started flying the rest of the way home. Once he started moving, Pony held on to Izuku tight, the fear of falling finally hitting her. Izuku felt this and tightened his hold on her, and started growing a tail like a snake that wrapped around her for more security. A few minutes later, little Izuku saw his house, and to his surprise, Bakugo was standing outside his house with his parents and Izuku's parents. Oh no, this can't be good, Izuku thought to himself. As he was coming in for a landing, everyone heard his wings and stepped back for him to have a better landing zone. As Izuku landed, everyone saw him holding Pony, who had his overshirt on because the wind was making her cold. Izuku put his tail and wings away and let Pony stand with his help. "Hi everyone, I'm home," Izuku said with a sheepish smile. Everyone there just looked at Izuku with a mix of confusion, worry, and pride. All except Kaken, who smiled and said, "You got good taste in girls," and gave him a thumbs up. After explaining why he was flying, how he was flying, who the girl was, and what happened to her ankle, Izuku was tired, but there was still a thought in his head. "How were you all outside the house like you were waiting for me?" he asked. Kaken walked up to him and showed a video on his phone. The video was of him wrestling the bull and knocking it out. It had thousands of views, and people were wondering who the boy was. "I found this while looking on the internet and showed my parent, who in turn showed you're making them worried for you," said Bakugo. Izuku just face-palmed and reassured his parents. His dad walked up to him next and with an aura of pride put his hand on his shoulder and said, "My boy, you did great. You were a man protecting a rather pretty girl. You make me so proud," he said. Izuku lowered his head in embarrassment. While Inko and Mitsuki were tending to Pony's ankle. After the guys were done messing with Izuku and the women were done helping Pony, Inko spoke up. "It is late and the trains have stopped. You are more than welcome to stay the night," asked Inko. Pony started to blush thinking about spending the night at her boyfriend's house for the first time. If it's okay, I wouldn't mind spending the night," said Pony timidly. With that, Inko smiled and went inside to get their spare room ready, while Mitsuki started talking to Pony. "So you're the girl that Brat 2 spends his time with," Mitsuki stated. Pony was a little confused. "Brat 2? Oh, that's just what I call the boys. Izuku is Brat 2 and mine is Brat 1. Mitsuki cleared up, causing Pony to laugh a little at the thought. "So you like Izuku?" Mitsuki asked out of nowhere. "And while I think he is a great guy, and he is very caring, and..." Pony started muttering like Izuku before she stopped. "So who asked who first?" asked Mitsuki, confusing the girl. "What do you mean?" "Don't act dumb, I know you and Izuku are boyfriend and girlfriend," replied Mitsuki. "How did you know?" asked a surprised Pony. 1. He carried you in his arms very protectively. 2. I can see the lipstick marks on his lips from your lipstick. 3. You haven't let go of his shirt this whole time. For as soon as Izuku landed and my brat walked up to him, Izuku's guard went up, only for a second, but it did. Just like animals would do when they feel that the mate is in danger, and seeing Izuku has the whole animal kingdom in his back pocket, it just makes sense. And 5th, and finally, you have the same problem as Izuku. When you mutter, you do it out loud. So I heard you say something about staying at your boyfriend's house," Mitsuki said with a smirk on her face. Pony blushed and looked away to hide her embarrassment. Once the room was ready, everyone went back to their homes and got some well-needed sleep. Time skip 1 month till exam. Some time has passed, and now both the Bakugos and Midoriyas know that Pony is Izuku's girlfriend, and both families loved her. In the words of Inko, she is a polite, pretty young woman who loves to help, and in the works of Mitsuki, a hell of a catch. Izuku was in his room studying. He was getting ready for the entrance exam, and he knew that the exam was both physical and mental and didn't want his mental skills to degrade. So he was going the extra mile, studying well past what he should know, just so he had the best chance to get in. Knock, knock. Izuku heard at his door. "Come in." "Ha, Izuku, I know you have been studying hard, and me and Mitsuki come up with an idea for you and Katsuki to do after all the hard work you two have put in, and we came up with these." Inko said, "We'll give Izuku tickets." Izuku looked at them, and his jaw nearly hit the ground. They were special event tickets to ComicCon Japan. "Mom, how did you guys find these?" It is hard enough getting normal tickets, but to get these, it is almost impossible. Izuku said, dumbfounded. Don't worry about that. They are for you and Katsuki, said Inko, before she was tackled into a hug from her son. Thank you, Mom, said Izuku, smiling. Wait, I have to go tell Kaken and thank Auntie, Izuku exclaimed, before running out of the house. After almost breaking the door down to the Bakugo house, Izuku hugged his aunt, thanking her, and told Katsuki about the tickets, in which Katsuki froze for a sec before doing the same as Izuku and hugging his mother and aunt. Izuku, when is the con? Asked Katsuki. In a week, replied Izuku. Good. We have time to get costumes for the event, said Katsuki. Izuku looked confused at the statement. Wait, you want to wear a costume? I know I like wearing them to these things, but you? Said Izuku. How I can wear a costume if I want, replied Katsuki. After they both decided on what they were going to do as they went to the store to get what they needed. A week later. Okay, boys, are you excited for the con? Asked Mitsuki, who was driving the boys. Absolutely, said both boys. I like your costumes, boys, said Mitsuki, looking at the two in the rearview mirror. Katsuki was wearing a very well-made Moon Knight costume from Marvel, while Izuku looked almost identical to Beast Boy from DC Comics. Izuku won't get in trouble for using your quirk in public. I mean, you use it quite frequently, but you normally can't be seen when you do. But this time you will be in a crowded place, asked Mitsuki, not wanting her nephew to get in trouble. Only if you know I am using it. All I am doing is making my height lower, my skin green, and making my ears pointy, said Izuku. You know, if I didn't know any better, I would think that you jumped off a comic book page and were the real Beast Boy, said Katsuki. Yeah, and you fit Moon Knight perfectly, replied Izuku. Damn straight, we're both badasses, we love to fight, and enjoy beating the shit out of villains, said Katsuki with an aura of pride. After a short journey, the boys were in front of the con and Mitsuki was wishing them luck and to have fun. Okay, Kaken, time to get our nerd on, said Izuku. After you, Nerd King, said Katsuki. The two walked in and saw the greatest collection of comics, hero figures, and people in costumes. This is awesome, said the two. They both went around seeing the old hero comics and figures. The two also had a lot of people come up to them and want pictures. After a couple of hours, the two were sitting down eating some food they got. So are you going to partake in the contest? Asked Bakugo. Yeah, I want the reward they are giving. That is an original copy of the Teen Titans from before quirks were around, said Izuku with stars in his eyes. You can have that. I want the original Superman costume from the movies, exclaimed Bakugo, wanting to have the Man of Steel costume. After getting into the event, there was going to be 4 rounds to see who won the contest. There were about 16 people participating. The first round was a contest to see who had the most accurate costume. They were put one-on-one to see who had the best, and to cut the numbers in half. Izuku was put with a guy that looked like the Hulk. Izuku won for having a better skin change, because the other guy forgot to put paint on his lower body under his shorts, and Izuku was fully green all over. Bakugo was put with a guy that had a Spider-Man outfit, but the suit doesn't fit right, while Bakugo was basically perfect. After the first round was done, there were 8 people left. The next round was to see if they could impersonate the character the best. Wait, so act like an energetic nerd with animal-like actions. That's not fair for the other guy, Izuku thought. And his thoughts were true when he beat a guy that tried acting like Wolverine. Izuku also cheated a little, using his quirk to make his vocal cords that of a bird that can mimic any noise, and mimicked Beast Boy's voice from the Teen Titans TV show from the early 20th century. Bakugo didn't even have to try, and the other guy gave up after Bakugo made his impression. The remaining 4 people all stood there with the crowd taking pictures and commenting on their outfits. The third round was about to start. It was an interesting one. They were allowed to use their quirks to give their best impression of the characters. Izuku was up against a girl who looked like poison ivy. When the girl started growing some plants off her body, Izuku changed into a green tiger. All the people were impressed. The announcer was clapping for him, but then thought something. Kid, do you need a change of clothes to turn back? Asked the announcer. But Izuku just changed back with his clothes still intact. No, sir. Thank you, said Izuku, smiling. With that, Izuku won his round. When he got to the table he saw Bakugo sitting there grumpy. You lost? Asked Izuku. All he got was a hard sigh and Bakugo saying something about cats. There was a break to see who would take third place between Bakugo and the Poison Ivy look-alike. Izuku was sitting in his chair looking at the news for any hero activity in his notebook. Even though he had a quirk, he still loved to take notes on heroes to see if he could copy their fighting styles or other aspects. But all of a sudden Izuku felt something was wrong. He looked up to see everything looked normal and all, but when he looked closer, he saw a weird glimmer like a field in front of him. "It's just my quirk, to give us some privacy," said a female voice behind him. Izuku turned around to see a girl a little shorter than him if he was normal height, wearing a very good Catwoman costume. It hugged her figure very well to the point Izuku had to look away with a blush on his face. "So what do you want to talk about?" asked Izuku to the girl. "I just wanted to talk about your costume and your quirk. I think it's really cool and interesting, and to see if I have a chance to win in the final round," said the girl. "So you're the reason Kakin was angry at cats now," he said, trying not to laugh. "Yep, my name is Cammy Etsushimi. Nice to meet you," said Cammy, taking her mask off to show her face and letting her hair down. Izuka got a weird feeling when he saw Cammy. What was that? Izuka thought. "Hello, my name is Izuku Midoriya. Nice to meet you too," replied Izuku, changing back to normal. "So that was your quirk as well. Interesting. How do your clothes not rip off your body when you change, when you shrink or grow?" asked Cammy. "It's made from a mix of fur and silk I'm made from my body," answered Izuku. Cammy just looked at him sideways. "You see, I grew extra arms and had silkworm silk come from my arms, and used said arms to make my clothes. I also added fur I grew to make it more comfortable and durable, in the end allowing it to change shape with me, just like Mount Lady's suit," explained Izuku. "Oh, so you can make your own clothes? That would make saving money so easy. Wait, now I am confused. What is your quirk?" asked Cammy, moving closer to Izuku, who now had to look down at the girl. "How about I tell you about my quirk and you tell me about yours? Sound fair?" asked Izuku, wanting to know what the weird glimmer in the air was. "Sounds fair to me. My quirk is called Glamour. It lets me breathe out a mist that I can make into whatever I want. Basically, I can make visual and auditory illusions," said Cammy, now ready to hear what Izuku's quirk is. "Cool. So in the right situation, you can make someone think they are fighting an army when it's just one person. You can even make yourself invisible in a sense. Guess it's my turn now? My quirk is called Animal Kingdom. I can change parts of my body or my whole body to any creature in the animal kingdom," replied Izuku. "That's so awesome. You're basically doing anything any creature can. That's a really strong quirk, all things considered. Well, mine can't do too much unless I catch someone off guard," said Cammy. "Actually, your quirk is very strong. Being able to trick a person's visual and auditory receptors is not something to laugh at. Think of it like this. You can make a person think they are hearing things that aren't there, and if you do it right, people wouldn't be able to tell if they are in an illusion or real life, even if they know your quirk. You could make it look like you were in one place when really you were somewhere else. And if you can make the auditory illusions loud enough, you can throw someone off their game cause of the noise," explained Izuku, with Cammy's mouth agape. "You know, I never thought of that. How would it be okay if after all of this is done you can help me with my quirk? You see, I am trying to get into UA and—" She was cut off by Izuku. "Absolutely. I would gladly help you. Who knows, we might be classmates," said Izuku. "Wait, you are trying to get into UA as well?" asked Cammy with stars in her eyes. "Yep, I am going to be the next #1 hero," Izuku said, smiling at the girl. After hearing that from the guy in front of her, Cammy started rocketing off questions. After a couple of minutes, Cammy dropped the illusion barrier, and the two went up to the stage back in costume for the final round. "All right, folks, the final round is here, and these are your final contestants. The final round will be a crowd vote from all of you to see who the winner is," the announcer said, with the crowd lining up to put their votes in. After a short time, the votes were put in and counted. "Okay, folks, the votes are in, and it is time to see your winner." The announcer was hyping up the crowd. "With a total of 122 votes, your winner is contestant number 9 with his cosplay of Beast Boy from the Teen Titans," the announcer shouted, with the crowd applauding Izuku and cheering for him. Even Cammy was giving him applause. Izuku just smiled happily. After the people stopped cheering and the announcer gave Izuku his first place prize, he started walking over to Bakugo, who looked grumpy. "Let me guess, not third place." He just huffed and looked away. "So Moon Knight loses to Poison Ivy?" said Izuku. Fuck off, said Bakugo as he got up. Where are you off to? Asked Izuku. There is a weapons showcase, and I want to see if there are any good ones I could get, replied Bakugo as he walked off. I will never understand why he likes weapons so much, thought Izuku before he heard someone call his name behind him. It was Cammy walking to him. Hey, congrats on winning, said Cammy. Thank you. You did good with your cosplay as well, said Izuku. I also came here to give you my number. Never gave it to you earlier. How else can I get help with my quirk and to talk to someone about comics, said Cammy, pulling her phone out of her costume. Izuku didn't want to think about how her phone was inside her skin-tight suit. Wait, talk about comics? Asked Izuku, confused. Well, I thought it would be nice to talk to someone who likes comics and enjoys cosplaying. And it does help you be rather attractive, said Cammy, thinking that last part to herself. After giving Cammy his phone number, Cammy asked if he would like to look around together and talk. Izuku agreed, and they spent the better part of about 2 hours talking and looking at different stuff. While they were talking, Izuku learned that Cammy enjoyed teasing people, and he just so happened to be the target of the teasing. She would comment on how a lot of girls wanted to take a picture with him and how he would look away when some women in rather exposing cosplay would walk past, which isn't saying much for Cammy given she is in a skin-tight suit. After they were done looking around, Izuku checked his phone, thinking Kaken would be looking for him, only to find he had a message from Kaken. I got in a little trouble over a weapon I wanted and had to leave. And before you ask, no, I didn't kill anyone. Yes, I got in a fight. Yes, I won the fight, and I got the sword. So don't wait for me. I am on my way back home already. Sorry for leaving you, but you'll be fine. See you back home. Well, that shouldn't surprise me, but I'm surprised it took this long, Izuku thought. Who's Kaken? Asked Cammy, looking over Izuku's shoulder. Izuku turned red so fast Cammy thought he would explode, which for Izuku in the situation he was currently in wouldn't surprise most, as Cammy was on his back looking over his shoulder, basically giving Izuku a hug from behind. After composing himself, Izuku answered, He is kind of like my brother. We have been friends so long that we started to see each other as brothers, said Izuku. Oh, so Kaken is the guy in the Moon Knight cosplay? Asked Cammy, to which Izuku nodded. After a little more talking, the two teens decided to leave the convention. They both walked and talked to each other on their way to the train station. Izuku was supposed to have Mitsuki pick him up, but she was a little busy yelling at Katsuki for getting into a fight. But Izuku enjoyed his conversation with Cammy, but he still couldn't get the weird feeling out of his head. Part of him wanted to think it was an after effect of Cammy's quirk on his inhuman senses, but the other part of him wanted to think it was his quirk trying to tell him something. I would really like to know what this feeling is. So far it only acts up around Cammy, Izuku thought. After the two got to the station, they said their farewells and promised to hang and have Izuku help Cammy with her quirk and to talk about comics. Izuku was about to head to his train when he felt a pull on his arm. Before he could stop, he was in a hug with Cammy. Izuku was frozen for a sec before Cammy let go and went to her train with a smirk on her face. In Izuku's head there was a thought that he didn't like. He learned one thing from it though. That feeling is definitely my quirk, and if I am correct, then this could be a problem, Izuku thought to himself, hoping his thoughts were wrong. Back in Izuku's house, Izuku was doing some research on animals and creature behaviors. After getting a bad idea from the hug he had with Cammy and the feeling he got, I really hope it is not what I think it is, cause if that is true, then this could cause a problem, thought Izuku to himself. After an hour of looking, Izuku closed his laptop and sighed. Well, after all that, all I got was I am fucked, Izuku thought. After looking on the internet, Izuku found out what that feeling was. Apparently another side effect of his quirk is a mating season, and the feeling he was getting was his body telling him that it was mating season and that Cammy would be a good mate. Lucky he had control over himself, and the effect wasn't as strong as it is in other animals. So now I have to deal with the mating season. This should be fun, Izuku thought with sarcasm. After thinking over what he should do, Izuku went to tell his family about it. The reactions ranged from his parents being understanding, his uncle trying to give him advice, and his aunt and his brother rolling on the ground laughing. After telling his family and having them understand what it means, Izuku went to his room and went to sleep to get ready for the next day to start his training back up for the entrance exam. Time skip, entrance exam day. As Izuku woke up, he looked over at his clock to see it was at 7 a.m. The exam doesn't start till 9:30 a.m., so I have some time to get ready, Izuku thought to himself, as he got to his feet and got himself ready for the day. Luckily, it only took him about 30 minutes to get ready and started eating breakfast with his family. Today is the big day. Do you have what you need? Do you need anything? Do you? Inko was cut off when Izuku gave her a hug to calm her down. Honey, my son is going to be okay. He is a good kid, with a kind heart and a smart head on his shoulders, said Hisashi, reassuring Inko, who let her son go and waved him good luck on the exam. As Izuku walked to see Kaken, he saw his aunt and uncle standing in front of their house. Ha, Brat 2. Brat 1 already went to the school to get an early start. I will say the same thing to you as I did to him. Don't worry about anything. You will become a great hero and you will do great things. Good luck, said Mitsuki as she pushed Izuku to start walking. After walking away from his home, Izuku looked at his phone to check the time, and he saw he had plenty of time. With that knowledge in mind, he decided to make a little detour. He thought it would be nice to talk to his sensei one more time before the exam. Over time, Izuku started to see his sensei as part of his family, given that his sensei had come over and had dinner once or twice. His sensei could be mean and aggressive at times, but as time passed, Izuku noticed that his sensei would become overprotective at times and noticed that she treated him a little better than others. After talking to his sensei, he learned that her quirk also gives her the instincts of the Leviathan, which were very similar to that of a dragon, meaning that she is very protective of what is hers, and when she makes a connection with someone, it is like they are family. Being her disciple and spending so much time with her, it made it like they were family. In her opinion, it is like a mother-to-son bond. Once he entered the dojo, Izuku was given a hug by a rather strong person. When Izuku looked, he saw it was Hayo Kendo. There he is, our greatest student, said Hayo. Dear, please put the boy down. We don't need him injured before his exam, said the feminine voice of Kimi Kendo. After being put down and given a chance to breathe, Kimi walked up to the boy. So what are you doing here? I thought that the exams were today, asked Kimi. They are, but I wanted to stop by and have one more talk with Tiamat sensei before the exam, said Izuku, looking around to see if he could see his sensei, only to sense someone behind him. In a flash, Izuku was sticking to the ceiling like a spider, because in the place he was standing was a large blue reptilian tail. It seems that you have been keeping your senses up. That's good, said Tiamat, with her tail molding back into her tailbone. It's good to see you too, sensei, said Izuku, unsticking himself from the ceiling, landing in front of the three adults. I don't know what's more scary, the fact that I had no idea Tiamat was behind you or how she got there, or the fact that you moved faster than I could see and made no noise doing it, said Hayo, with his wife next to him. In other news, I am happy to see you again, Izuku, said Tiamat, hugging the boy. So today is the big day. You get to take the entrance exam for UA. Are you ready for it? Asked Tiamat. Yo, I am. I have put all this time into getting in. It would be a waste to not use it, replied Izuku. Oh yeah, I almost forgot. But where's Itsuka? Has she already made her way to UA? Asked Izuku, looking for his rival/best friend. Yes, she has. She left a little while ago. Said something about wanting to get a little more training in, said Kimi. Why do you ask? Did you want to walk to UA with Itsuka? Asked Kimi in a teasing tone. With both Tiamat and Hayo laughing at the boy's attempt to convince Kimi that she was just a friend and failing. After getting some words of encouragement from his sensei and the kendos, Izuku gave them a hug and ran off to meet up with someone before the exam. Izuku ran, feeling the wind blowing past him as he ran, before picking up a scent he was very familiar with. Coming to a stop in front of an apartment complex, he saw the person he was looking for. Good morning, Pony. You ready for the exam? Said Izuku, smiling at Pony. Aye, Izuku. Pony yelled, running and jumping on her boyfriend, not expecting to see him until they were at school. She was very happy to see him. Izuku was equally happy to see her, hugging her back and kissing her on the cheek. After getting Pony to calm down and put back down, the two started walking to UA, talking about random things and about the exam. As they walked, Izuku noticed that there were a lot of people their age walking to the school. There are a lot of people coming to take the exam. This should be interesting, Izuku thought to himself. Once the two teens were in front of UA, Izuku saw his girlfriend shaking. Pony, are you okay? Asked Izuku. You're just a little nervous, replied Pony. Izuku just smiled and put a hand on Pony's shoulder. "Don't be worried. You will do great and get in," said Izuku, reassuring his girlfriend. After reassuring Pony, the two started to walk to the front doors of the school until, "Izuku, is that you?" asked a feminine voice behind him. As Izuku turned around, he was pulled into a hug. "It is you. It's been so long since I saw you in person last," said the female. After taking a second to look at the person, Izuku was surprised. "Cammy," said Izuku, surprised to not just see the girl, but also because she was still hugging him in front of Pony. Izuku suddenly felt his body get pulled back, looking down and saw Pony's horns pushing his body back towards Pony. "Sorry for not introducing myself earlier. My name is Pony Tsunatori, Izuku's girlfriend," said Pony with an all-too-sweet smile on her face, and what looked like an aura around her body that scared Izuku. Cammy just looked and gave a Cheshire grin to Pony. "Nice to meet you. My name is Cammy Utsushimi," replied Cammy. Izuku slowly backed away from the two girls who looked like the smallest thing could set them off. "So when were you going to tell me you had a girlfriend?" asked a voice behind Izuku. Izuku turned around to see Itsuka standing there smiling at him. "Oh, it's just you, Itsuka. You scared me a little there," said Izuku, relaxing a little. Itsuka looked over his shoulder, seeing the two girls still ready to fight each other. "You might want to head inside before something bad happens," said Itsuka. After getting inside and avoiding a fight between the two girls, Izuku was sitting in his seat next to Katsuki in the auditorium. After finding his brother, Izuku was happy to see him. Katsuki was not showing any emotions, but inside, he was happy to see Izuku. As Present Mike was talking and giving the teens info about the exam, Katsuki was getting impatient. He wanted to get the exam started and to show people that he will be the #1 hero. Izuku noticed his brother was fidgeting a lot and knew what was happening. "Dude, you need to calm down. The exam will start in a little," said Izuku, trying to get Katsuki to calm down. "I can't. It's taking too damn long for this shit," replied Katsuki. "Pardon me, sir, but there seems to be a mistake. On the paper we were given it said that there were 4 robots, not 3. If this is an error, then UA should be very disappointed. And you too, can you stop talking? You are interrupting the teacher from giving us information. If you don't care about the future, you could be running, then please leave," said a tall blue hair boy with glasses. "Last time I checked, it was pretty hard to outspeak someone with a voice enhancer quirk, and I don't think we were interrupting anyone. Given that you heard everything Present Mike said, I would like to know just how we were interrupting him. The only one stopping us from learning is you. And if you sat down and listened, Present Mike might tell us about the 4th robot." "Would I be correct in my guess, sir?" said Izuku, yelling the last part for Mike to hear. "You would be most correct, contestant number 231, said Mike. "I am sorry, sir." "Please forgive me," said the tall boy sitting down. After getting through the lecture, everyone was sent to the respective areas. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on who you ask, Izuku and Katsuki were not in the same area. Once he was dropped off at his testing, Izuku started stretching, looking around, seeing all the people he will be competing against. He saw a guy with brown hair looking nervous, a blonde guy with what looks like sparkles around him, the tall boy from the auditorium. And is that Cammy and Itsuka? What are the odds? Thought Izuku. Walking over to them, he was stopped by a hand on his shoulder. He looked over his shoulder to see the tall boy staring at him. The tall boy looked like he was about to say something when he was cut off by Cammy and Itsuka calling Izuku over. Before the boy could understand what happened, Izuku was already next to the girls and not under the boy's hand, who swears that his hand was still on Izuku's shoulder. "So what are the odds that the 3 of us are in the same testing area?" said Izuku to the 2 girls. "I know, but I am happy, and I got to know Itsuka here and learn a little about how you two know each other," said Cammy. "The same goes for me. I didn't know you liked cosplay," said Itsuka. As the 3 kept talking, the giant doors opened, revealing the testing area. Izuku, seeing this, readied himself, changing his legs to that of a Utahraptor and a cheetah, and his eyes having a second eyelid grow on them like most reptiles. Ready for the moment they told him to start. The girls, seeing him do this, and got themselves ready. All the other students looked and saw the 3 and thought it would be a good idea to do the same. Even the tall boy got in a runner's stance. "Geo!" yelled Present Mike over the intercom, setting everyone off into action, with the tall boy getting past everyone, thinking he had a head start. Until he and all the other contestants, including Cammy and Itsuka, saw Izuku dash straight past them all running over 80 miles per hour. Izuku, seeing a three-pointer jump out from behind a building, realized he couldn't stop, so he grew Ankylosaur's plates and plowed straight through the metal enemy. Stopping to see his work, Izuku got a smile on his face, realizing he could stop holding back and really use his quirk. Finally, I can really show what I can do. Time to unleash the beast, thought Izuku to himself, with his eyes turning red and dashing off to get more points. In the observation room. Looks like we have some promising students on our hands this year, said the principal of UA Nizu, looking at the monitors. I especially agree with contestants 230 and 231. They have been on a rampage this whole time. Neither even looked tired, said Snipe. True, but contestant 230 has just been destroying robots, while 231 has been helping other contestants as well, said Ectoplasm. I am a little curious about 231's quirk. At first I thought he had a reptilian quirk, but then he grew rabbit ears and claws. He could even climb on vertical surfaces like a spider and grow a scorpion's tail. What is this kid's quirk? Asked Vlad King. All the teachers wanted to know the kid's quirk, because it looked to be a strong one. Even a skeletal man in the corner looked at the boy, seeing the powerful quirk, but also the heroic heart he has with saving people. Nizu opened the file they had on Izuku. Let's see. He's called Izuku Midoriya. His quirk is called Animal Kingdom. Lets the user turn the whole body or individual parts of their body to that of any creature in the animal kingdom, past or present, said Nizu, shocking the teachers at the boy's quirk. With a quirk like that, he basically has the abilities of every person with an animal quirk, and he can even mix different creatures' abilities together, said Snipe. After hearing this, a homeless-looking man looked closer at Izuku. Looks like I already found a problem child, but at least he looks to have a good head on his shoulders, thought the man. Looks like it's time to pull the final boss of this test, said Nizu, pushing a big red button on the table, causing a massive event to happen in every test area. Back in Izuku's test area, Izuku just finished off another one-pointer by ripping its head off with his clawed hands. Alright, that's another one down. I should be at about 80 points or so. Izuku said to himself. Before he could dash off, he felt the ground shake, and he heard people screaming. He turned a corner to see people running from a giant robot. He smiled, seeing a real challenge, readying himself to charge, when he heard something. It sounded like a girl crying for help. Looking down close to the feet of the robot, Izuku saw a girl with brown hair stuck under some rubble, with Itsuka and Cammy trying to get her out. Izuku saw the robot approaching them, and saw that they couldn't get the girl out of the rubble. An image of his friends and the girl getting crushed appeared in his head, and after seeing that, something clicked in his head. He dashed straight to them faster than he did at the start of the test. Come on, we need to get her out. Hurry, yelled Itsuka, trying to get the girl out. Her and Cammy tried their best to get the girl out. But before they knew it, the robot blocked out the sun over them and was about to crush them. They grabbed each other and the girl and braced for the robot to crush them. That is when they heard what sounded like metal being crushed. Cammy opened her eyes to see the foot of the robot right on top of them, but hovering in the air a little over their heads. She looked to her left where the noise was coming from and froze. Itsuka did the same and looked at what Cammy was looking at to be frozen as well. To the shock and heartbreaking happiness of the two girls, they saw Izuku holding the massive robot all by himself. It works. Thank God it works. This is a hard task, but I did it since I made my own form of Ingi. Personal style kingdom, Azura form. Thought Izuku as he had his shirt ripped off, with 6 arms, ankylo plates covering his arms and torso, with the lifting strength of the Hercules beetle, looking just like the demonic Azura. He looked at the girls and smiled. You alright? You're not hurt badly, right? Asked Izuku. No, we are fine, but she is stuck and we can't get the rubble off her, even with my quirk, said Itsuka, gesturing to the girl. Izuku looked at the girl and saw the rubble. Don't worry, we will get you out of here, said Izuku, reassuring the girl. Before he could say anything else, he felt the weight of the robot increase. The robot had leaned forward to increase the amount of weight being put on its foot. Izuku felt the concrete street under him shatter from the stress. He knew he needed to get the robot off them. With a mighty push, he lifted the robot, causing it to fall back. Izuku grabbed the rubble and threw it off the girl. He was about to pick her up when he heard the robot get up. Go get her out of here. I will deal with the robot, yelled Izuku, charging at the robot, not hearing the yells from the girls telling him to stop and to run away. After getting close, Izuku jumped to the robot's still down leg onto its knee. One blow. I need to end this in one blow. This is going to hurt, thought Izuku as he changed the muscles in his leg to that of a desert locust and jumped hard. Feeling the pain from having too many changes, he pushed it to the side. Getting near the head of the robot, he pulled the 3 right arms he had and changed his legs back to normal to try and reduce the pain, also changing the strength he had to that of a dung beetle and the muscle to that of the pistol shrimp. Now I win. Special move, demonic cannon, yelled Izuku, swinging his arms forward, making contact with the head of the robot. On impact, 2 things happened. One being the force behind the punch shattered the head plates of the robot. 2. A massive ball of plasma, caused by the speed of the punch and the air being compressed and heated, causing combustion, to go flying through the rest of the robot's head, completely destroying it. That's it. The test is over, yelled Present Mike, as Izuku landed and turned back to normal, looking at his handiwork, only to feel his body in pain. His legs gave out on him, and he started to fall back. He would have hit the ground if it wasn't for a pair of arms catching him from behind, hugging the boy for dear life. Izuku slowly turned his head to look at the person who caught him, only to see orange hair. Seeing the hair, he laughed a little with a smile on his face as he relaxed in Itsuka's arms. You know, other than the pain from that, it was pretty cool, right? Izuku asked jokingly to break the tension. Yeah, just next time don't give me a heart attack. Will ya? Said Itsuka, using one of her hands to bop him on the head, causing Izuku to start laughing harder and soon her as well. As the 2 teens were laughing, Cammy walked over, helping the brown-haired girl walk. You're crazy. You know that, right? Said Cammy with a smile on her face. The brown-haired girl just looked at them a little weird. Yeah, and you try to hold a giant robot's foot up by yourself to save 3 people, said Izuku, giving Cammy the side eye. You know that's all you. Either way, we are safe and you saved us, said Cammy, as she stopped next to the 2. Speaking of, are you okay? Your leg looked pretty bad back there, asked Izuku to the brown-haired girl. I'm okay, and my leg should be fine. It looks worse than it is. Thank you for saving me, all of you. I'm Achiko Uraraka, by the way, said Achiko, smiling at the boy. Good to hear, and you're welcome. Name's Izuku Midoriya, and that's Cammy Utsushimi, and Itsuka Kendo, replied Izuku. As the teens were introducing themselves, a little old lady was going around healing the other test takers. Now, my dear, your leg looks like it hurts. Let me fix that, said the old lady, kissing Achiko's leg, causing the wound to heal right in front of the teens. Oh, it's the youthful heroine, Recovery Girl, said Izuku. Yep, I am here to make sure none of you kiddos get too hurt while taking the test, said Recovery Girl, as she made her way to the others. Are any of you hurt and need my help? Asked Recovery Girl. Izuku looked over to see if he had any injuries. I don't know about the others, but I am all good. I just need to give my healing factor a little time to heal me up, and I should be good, said Izuku, surprising Recovery Girl. She looked closer and saw that his injuries were slowly healing themselves. Looks like my help is not needed here. The exit is down this road and to the right. You are free to go home. The test is over, said Recovery Girl as she pointed down the street and started walking to the next person in need of help. At the front gate. As Izuku was walking to the front gates with Itsuka and Cammy following him, Izuku saw Katsuki standing at the gates talking with Pony. Well, at least he isn't yelling at her, thought Izuku. As the 3 walked to the gate, Pony and Katsuki saw them and made their way to meet them halfway. While Katsuki walked, Pony made a mad dash to Izuku before glomping him in a hug. Katsuki just smiled at his brother, but he also saw a weird look on Itsuka and Cammy's faces. Dang bro, apparently you got game, thought Katsuki. Yes, it's good to see you too. So how was your guys' test? Asked Izuku, still holding Pony. Huh, those metal bastards didn't stand a chance against me. I was racking up points like crazy. Oh, and your girlfriend did pretty good as well, said Katsuki, making Izuku smile, hearing that 2 people he cares about did so well in the test. After hearing that, Izuku and the others talked for a little while before going back home. Couple days later, Izuku was talking to Katsuki in his room about his hero costume when, Izuku, it's here. Your letter from UA. yelled Izuku's mom as she busted through the door. Izuku froze for a second before dashing and grabbing the letter. Izuku asked to be alone for a moment to see the letter first. Everyone agreed, and they waited downstairs and Katsuki ran to his house to see if he got his letter. As Izuku closed his door, he grabbed his letter and went to his desk and sat down. Looking at the letter, Izuku grew a claw on one finger and opened the letter. Tilting it over, a small disc fell out. As the device landed, a light turned on and a projection played, showing someone Izuku wasn't expecting to see. "Is that?" thought Izuku. "Hello there, young Midoriya. It is I, All Might. Now you might be wondering why I am here. Well, starting this new semester, I will be a teacher here at UA, said All Might. Wait, All Might is going to be a teacher at UA? That's crazy, said Izuku out loud in surprise. Now let's get to the main purpose of this recording. Your results from the test. Starting with the written test, you scored a 97%, tying for the third highest score, said All Might. Oh good, I passed the written test. That was one of the hardest tests I have ever taken, thought Izuku. Now for the physical portion. You scored yourself 82 villain points, giving you second place in the test, said All Might. Damn, bet Kakin was the one to get first place. He is going to rub it in my face for days to come, Izuka thought. But there is one other thing about the test. What kind of hero school would we be if we only counted villain points? So in the time you spent testing, we the teachers were watching, and we awarded additional points for acting and being a hero. So Izuku Midoriya, after your actions in the test, we have awarded you with 60 rescue points, getting you to 142 points total, said All Might with pride. 142, that's. There is no way. But wait. The original record was, thought Izuku. Congratulations, you have taken the first place spot in the physical test and broke the previous record of 100 points. So it is my pleasure and honor to welcome you, Izuku Midoriya, to your hero academia, said All Might with a smile. After saying his speech, the device turned off. Izuku was frozen in shock. I did it. I made it in, and I got the top score, thought Izuku with his mouth agape. Walking downstairs, Izuku saw his parents waiting for him. Izuku, baby, is everything okay? Asked Inko. Izuku walked fully down the stairs and sat in front of his parents. I did it. I made it into the hero course at UA, said Izuku, still shocked that he made it in. Within a second, Izuku was lifted off his feet and pulled into a big hug by his father. You did it, kiddo. You made it to the top, yelled Izuku's father with pride and happiness in his voice. Izuku, finally coming out of his shock, smiled and hugged his father back with joy, as his mother also joined the family hug. That's great to hear. I hope Katsuki gets in with you, said Inko. Oh, I think he will make it, said Izuku, before hearing a very loud voice. Let's go. The Midoriyas heard their blonde neighbor yell. I think he got in, but I don't think he will be happy in a sec, said Izuku with a smirk on his face. What do you mean? Asked Hisashi. I got first place in the physical test and beat the record, said Izuku, shocking his parents, and before they could say a word. Fuck, yelled Katsuki. There it is, said Izuku, laughing his ass off. First day of school. Izuku and Katsuki were standing in front of UA. It was the first day, and the two teens had decided to walk to school together and to talk about what their future was to look like and thinking about the kind of people that would be in their class. After standing in front of the school for a few minutes, the two walked into the school. After walking for a couple of minutes, they came to a door with one on the door. That's a massive fucking door. Who the hell do they have coming to this school? Said Katsuki, looking up at the door. Well, don't forget, Kakin, that All Might is like 7 feet tall, said Izuku, walking to the door to open it. As he opened the door, he was met with a class full of people, but he was happy to see some familiar faces, but that of Itsuka and Cammy. Before greeting them, Izuku smelled someone coming behind him and heard their footsteps. Izuku, said a very familiar voice to Izuku, turning around and catching Pony, who jumped to him, giving her a big hug and a wide smile. Katsuki just smirked at his brother and looked at the others in the room and saw Itsuka and Cammy looking at Izuku and Pony with envy, while the rest of the class looked with different looks ranging from curiosity to angry jealousy, mainly from a small purple-haired grape-head boy. As Izuku was hugging Pony, he could smell someone else coming up behind him, and when he looked, he saw the brown-haired girl he and the girls saved. Hello. I see you made it in as well. Is your leg better? Asked Izuku, setting Pony down. Yes, thank you again for saving me. I am glad to see you also made it in, said Achiko. No problem, said Izuku. Izuku stopped for a second and turned to look at the ground, seeing a large yellow caterpillar. But to his and everyone else's surprise, the caterpillar turned into a man with baggy black hair and eye bags. Is this a teacher? He looks like a hobo, thought Katsuki. Hurry up, get in your seats. Heroes don't have time to wait and hang out. It already took you 20 seconds to get quiet. You need to do better, said the man. After everyone was in the results, the man spoke. All right, to start, I am your new homeroom teacher. The name's Shoto Aizawa. You will call me Aizawa-sensei or Mr. Aizawa. Good. Good. Now it's time for the real part of today, said Aizawa, reaching for his sleeping bag and pulling out PE uniforms and throwing them at the students. Some caught their uniforms like Katsuki, Izuku, and Itsuka. Some didn't catch them like a kid with yellow and black hair, and the purple-haired grape kid who was too busy looking at Pony. Now put those on and meet me outside. You have 10 minutes starting now, said Aizawa, walking out of the room. Everyone left in the room, went and changed into their gear. Once everyone had their uniforms on, they made their way to the field. 9 minutes flat, you're learning. But now that you are all here, time for the test, said Aizawa. Wait, won't we miss the orientation? And what test are you talking about? Asked Achiko, with multiple others wondering the same thing. Here at UA, us teachers can do what we like when it comes to teaching. You have 3 years to become the best heroes you can be, and we can't be wasting time. So I am conducting a quirk apprehension test. Just like in school, just this time you can use your quirk. It is counterproductive to not use your quirk. It's a part of you, so therefore we need to test and strengthen it, said Aizawa, pulling a phone-like device and a ball with a weird design out of his pocket. Midoriya, what was the best throw you did in high school? Asked Aizawa. Throw the ball at Izuku. I would say about 30 meters, about 100 feet, sir, said Izuku, with some people looking at him a little weird. Good. Now do it with your quirk, said Aizawa. His quirk must give him a passive strength increase. 30 meters is impressive. The average is about 20 meters, thought Aizawa, watching Izuku walk to the area to throw. As Izuku approached the circle to throw, he was thinking of the animals to use and how much he wanted to show off. Once he reached the circle, he looked back and overheard something. Hey, good looking, name's Denki Kaminari. What's yours? Asked Denki to Pony. Pony, but I have a boyfriend already, said Pony, leaning away from Denki. Come on, we are both in the same class, and where is he at? Asked Denki. Izuku, hearing this, had one thought. All-out power. Izuku readied himself, increasing his strength to the max with the strongest creature on Earth, the dung beetle, being able to lift 1,141 times its body weight. He then changed his arm to that of a pistol shrimp for the snap reaction to give the ball a fast throw and momentum. Finally, Izuku did something special. He changed and made a new organ in his hand similar to that of the bombardier beetle and filled the organ with a synthesized mix of air and hydrogen, adding a small hole or vent to the palm of his hand. Izuku was ready. Izuku pulled his arm back and with all the force he had threw the ball with a massive explosion behind it, shocking everyone. With a mix of strength, snapping speed, and combustion of the air and hydrogen made the ball move at blistering speeds and far out of sight. Everyone was dumbfounded at what they saw. Izuku just made the ball vanish and caused an explosion. Cammy and Itsuka were gobsmacked at his power. Pony was smiling with joy. Others were scared or shell-shocked. But Katsuki was a mix of emotions. On one hand, he was impressed with his brother's throw. On the other, he was speechless because Izuku just caused an explosion just like his quirk. After getting over his surprise, Aizawa looked at the device in his hand and told the class, "Now you see what the difference in using your quirk can do. Now is the time for everyone to test out," said Aizawa, showing everyone Izuku's score of 1,000 meters, about 3,280 feet. After getting past the shock of what they saw and the score he got, some people got excited. "Now this looks like it will be fun," said a pink-skinned girl. "Fun, you say? How about this for fun? Whoever gets the lowest score is expelled, and before any of you ask, I can expel anyone anytime I want. Now do your best and show me why you are here," said Aizawa with a crazy grin on his face, scaring the class. Pony looked over at Denki next to her and smiled. That's my boyfriend. After saying that, she walked over to Izuku, who walked out of the dust cloud he made, and she blushed. Izuku, not knowing why, felt a breeze. Looking down, he saw that the whole right side of his pea shirt was gone, showing off his lean, muscular body and half of his well-defined six-pack. After seeing his state, he asked Aizawa for a new pea top, but he didn't have one. Luck for him, a tall, black-haired girl walked over to him and handed him another pea shirt. Thank you. Where did you get it from, though? Asked Izuku. You're welcome, and I made it with my quirk, said the black-haired girl. Wait, with your quirk? What is your quirk? Asked Izuku with stars in his eyes, as he was excited to hear about a new quirk. The girl backed up with her hands up in a halting position and a blush on her face. Could you please put the shirt on first? Asked the girl, with a blush on her face, looking away from Izuku, while also stealing a couple glances at his body. Izuku backed up and apologized and took off his old pea shirt. With his shirt off, everyone could see his exposed upper body in all its glory. Some of the guys were jealous of his body. The same girls were blushing, like the black-haired girl, Itsuka, and Pony. Some girls were staring and starting to drool, like the pink-skinned girl and Cammy. Once he put his shirt on, he looked back at the black-haired girl. Thank you again, and sorry for getting up in your personal space. Let me introduce myself. I am Izuku Midoriya, said Izuku. The black-haired girl recomposed herself. You're welcome, and my name is Momo Yaoyorozu, said Momo, with a small bow. After talking to each other for a couple minutes, and for Mr. Aizawa to get a new ball, everyone went back to doing the tests. Starting with the 50-meter dash, as the people kept going, Izuku was planning his next move to get the top score, trying to beat the blue-haired guy from the entrance exam who got 3.04 seconds on his attempt. Once it was his turn, he went up and got in position next to Katsuki, and they looked at each other silently and made a bet to each other. They both got ready, and Izuku changed his muscles in his legs to that of the Californian might to increase his speed. Once the countdown finished, Katsuki blasted off and landed, getting a time of 4.13 seconds. But Katsuki was frozen in shock along with everyone else, including Aizawa. For in the area Izuku was in was a dust cloud, and Izuku ending up about 500 meters away from the end of the 50-meter line. After Izuku got back, he asked what his time was, and Mr. Aizawa, with his jaw basically on the floor, had the robot replay his time. Izuku had a time of 0.09 seconds. Katsuki walked over to Izuku and grabbed his shoulders and proceeded to shake him violently, asking him questions. How the fuck did you do that? What fucking animal on earth can run that fast? Like, what the hell, man? Yelled Katsuki. Izuku, for his part, tried his best to get out of Katsuki's grasp and eventually did. Kaken, you know, if you would stop shaking me, I would answer your question, said Izuku, dusting himself off. Actually, could you explain it and your quirk to me as well? Your file had some detailed notes about your quirk, but I want it from the source, said Aizawa, with the rest of the class listening. Yes, sir. My quirk is called Animal Kingdom, and it lets me transform my whole body or parts of my body to that of any creature that has or is walking this earth. In detail, I can control each cell of my body to do what I want and to turn into whatever I want. The downside being I can only have 3 changes at one time unless I want to feel pain throughout my whole body, and the more changes I do, the more stamina it takes. The final part of my quirk is that when not used, I still have a passive effect, mainly increased strength, speed, and senses, with a small increase in healing rate, explained Izuku. Aizawa and the rest of the class, including Cammy and Itsuka, who didn't know his quirks fully, were silent. Until Aizawa spoke. I see. So you have the whole animal kingdom in your corner helping you. Interesting, said Aizawa, will also think to himself. It looks like I have definitely found my problem child and a future top pro hero. The rest of the class surrounded Izuku, asking him questions about his quirk and what he can turn into, until Aizawa used his quirk to scare the students silent, except Izuku, who was not affected by the killing intent coming from him. Back to the test they went on, as you would think. After the dash was the grip strength test, and Izuku got the best score, mixing beetle strength and having 6 arms like another student. After that was the standing long jump, where Izuku went first, but asked his teacher if flying would count, where Aizawa said it would count, but he wanted to see him jump as well. Izuku listened and jumped with a mix of locust legs and kangaroo muscles, easily clearing the sand pit and going quite the distance. Next was the side-to-side jumps, and Izuku was surprised to see the grape-head kid do pretty good in the test, being the only one to beat Izuku in the test. Next was the ball throw, but Izuku didn't have to do it, but was impressed with Katsuki and his throw, along with a blonde-haired girl who threw the ball a little short of Katsuki. But the ones that got him were Achiko, who sent the ball into orbit getting infinity, and Momo, who made a cannon and got a score of 1.2 kilometers. The next test was the distance run, where it was called a tie when Izuku and Momo went for about 10 miles of distance with neither of them looking like they would stop, given that Momo was on a scooter and Izuku was running with raptor-like legs. They were keeping up with one another and even started a conversation while running. The last two tests were the seated toe touch and the sit-ups, and Izuku won both with making his spine like a snake and basically being the most flexible person there. But the pink-skinned girl, Cammy, and Itsuka were the most normally flexible people. Once everyone was done, the scores were shown by Aizawa, using a holographic screen, showing the scores as Izuku Midoriya, Momo Yaoyorozu, Shoto Todoroki, Katsuki Bakugo, Tinya Ida, Melissa Shield, Fumikage Tokoyami, Mizo Shoji, Eijiro Kirishima, Itsuka Kendo, Mina Ishido, Pony Tsunatori, Ochako Uraraka, Koji Koda, Tsuyu Azui, Kami Utsushimi, Hantasiro, Denki Kaminari, Hitoshi Shinso, Hyokujiro, Minoru Mineta. Everyone was looking at the scores they got. Some were relieved and some happy with their placing, but one was a different story. Izuku looked over at the purple-haired grape kid who was in the fetal position crying. Izuku could hear the kid saying something about being unfair and how now he can't have his harem. As he was listening, Aizawa was talking and looked at the grape kid. Mineta, you have shown all you can do. Get your stuff and leave. You are expelled, said Aizawa looking at Mineta. Once the grape head heard those words, he lost it, thinking that if this is the end of his hero career, he would go out touching at least one woman's breasts. He quickly looked for the closest female and found Pony standing and talking to Cammy and Itsuka. Mineta, in a fit of craziness, jumped at Pony and said something about wanting to touch them tits. Aizawa saw this and was about to stop him when out of nowhere Mineta was hit out of the air by something. He was on the ground and was about to try again when he was stopped by a wall of fire. Aizawa, looking at the source, saw Izuku spitting fire from his mouth. Once his fire was done, Mineta looked up to see red. He saw red eyes and a shadowy figure looming over him, with a massive aura of killing intent pushing down on him, with a sharp-toothed maw with smoke coming out the side staring at him. Everyone around Izuku, including Aizawa, could feel his killing intent. Most of the class was frozen. Even Aizawa was frozen for a second, but before he could tell Izuku to stop, Katsuki had gotten in front of Izuku and Mineta and stopped the boy. Izuku, stop. You have made your point, and I think the little shit has had enough. I mean, he has already passed out, said Katsuki. Izuku looked, and Katsuki was right. Mineta was laying on the ground, knocked out with his eyes rolled into the back of his head and foaming at the mouth. Calming down, Izuku released a breath of steam from his mouth and stopped pushing his killing intent out. Once Izuku did this, the rest of the class took a breath to calm themselves down. Walking away from the grape head, Izuku put a little distance between him and the rest of the class, not even looking at them. Izuku was thinking to himself, well, this is not how I wanted to start school. But why did I do that? And it is not like I was just trying to scare him. I had the urge and wanted to kill him. But it was only when he went a pony. Is it because of my animal instincts? Thought Izuku. Before Izuku could continue his dark thoughts, Izuku felt a pair of arms wrap around him and pull him into a hug. Izuku felt calm and looked at the person hugging him. It was Pony. She was hugging him with a smile on her face. Thank you for saving me, my hero, said Pony, smiling ear to ear at Izuku. Seeing the smile and feeling her words, Izuku turned around and returned the hug. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to scare you or anyone here, said Izuku. Don't be sorry. You were protecting me from that creep, and I don't think the others are having the reaction you think they are, said Pony. Your girlfriend is right, idiot. They won't stop asking me questions about you. It is annoying the fuck out of me, so go and deal with them, said Katsuki. Izuku looked and saw the class looking at him, and he could hear them asking each other about his quirk and how cool it was. Izuku thanking Pony, and Katsuki walked over to his class, where he was immediately surrounded and asked questions. Can you turn into any animal? What's it like to be an animal? How strong can you get? How did you breathe fire? Can you really fly? Izuku now understood what it was like talking to him when he muttered. Before he could answer the questions, Aizawa stopped them and got their attention. All right, class, that is all for the day. You are free to go. Your syllabus is on the main desk. Be here ready to start class first thing in the morning, said Aizawa, releasing the class to their freedom. Heading back to the classroom, everyone grabbed the papers, and some left, but a couple stayed to ask Izuku questions. Hi, I'm Mina Ishido. I thought that your quirk is so cool. Can you turn into any animal, like anything? Asked Mina, with an amazed look on her face. Yes, but it has to be real and actually exist. So no mythical creatures, said Izuku. Wait, if you can't turn to mythical creatures, how did you breathe fire? Asked Siro, a guy with weird elbows. It's not that I breathe fire. It was more of a chemical reaction mixed with heat. I made glands from an insect in my mouth that would spray a liquid that I light on fire with electrodes that I made with electric eel DNA. So it's more like napalm than flame breath, explained Izuku. Everyone in the room other than Pony, Katsuki, Itsuka, and Cammy realized that Izuku was very smart when it came to animals and anatomy. If you don't mind me asking, how did you beat my time in the 50-meter dash? Asked Ida. Oh, that was because I increased my speed by changing my legs to that of a mite that is known as the fastest creature by size, and I changed the muscle's reaction in my legs to that of snap muscle, the same muscle that apes use to get their strength, said Izuku. Interesting if you don't mind me asking, but how fast did you go? Asked Ida. Sure, I can tell you. I reached a speed of about 1,300 miles per hour, which is pretty fast, but I wasn't ready to go that fast, so I may have overworked the muscles in my legs. But luckily my healing factor healed the damage, said Izuku. What do you mean by a healing factor? Do you have a unique healing ability? Asked Momo. I have a passive increase to my healing rate, but not to the extent that I heal crazy fast normally. I just heal a little faster than normal. But if I change my healing rate to that of a starfish and amp up my metabolism, I can heal a lot faster, almost to the point of instant regeneration. But it takes a lot of energy, said Izuku. To show his healing rate, Izuku did something no one was ready for, or even expected. Izuku grew razor-sharp claws and cut his arm. Everyone in the room thought Izuku was crazy. Momo and Ida gasped. Katsuki, Cammy, and Itsuka ran to Izuku to stop him, and Pony went to stop the bleeding. Izuku, are you fucking crazy? Asked Katsuki, hold his arm with the claw away from his body. You guys, I'm fine. I made the nerves in my arm turn off, and if you look, the wound is already healing itself, said Izuku. To everyone's surprise, the wound had stopped bleeding and was already getting smaller in front of their eyes, and after about 2 minutes the wound was fully healed. You are still a fucking idiot for that, said Katsuki, releasing Izuku's hand. After answering a couple more questions, Izuku and everyone went back home to get ready for the next day. Next day in class. As the students were sitting in class talking to each other, someone brought up the thought of who would be teaching heroics class. Who do you think it will be? Asked Mina. No idea. It could be anyone, replied Kirishima. As they were all talking, Izuku was sitting and talking to Katsuki about his quirk and how he made an explosion during the quirk test. And after compressing the gas, I ignited the gas, causing a compressed explosion and funneled it through my hand, said Izuku. So instead of igniting nitroglycerin, like me, you used a different flammable chemical, said Katsuki, as he looked at the notebook Izuku was writing in. In the notebook was a list of animals and unique things each could do and the different combinations he could have. He also had his trusty quirk information notebook, where he would write down different info on quirks and draw different costumes for heroes and villains. As Izuku was writing, he felt a vibration there on the floor and heard footsteps coming. Looking up at the door, Katsuki got the idea that his brother heard something and that someone was coming, just like he thought the door of the class opened. When he said it was opened, what he meant to say was the door was completely blown off the hinges and a tall, muscular man was standing in front of the class with a cape blowing in the wind. Wait, where did the wind come from? Thought Katsuki. Good morning, young heroes. I am here, as your new teacher for heroics. Think of it as Hero 101, where we will be teaching you the basics of becoming a hero, said the strongest and most famous hero in Japan, All Might. Everyone was excited to see All Might as their teacher, and they were ready to see what the number one hero could teach them. All right, young ones, we will be starting off the day with some practical training in the form of battle trials, said All Might, pulling out a board out of nowhere with the words battle trail on it. But to be a hero in this world, you have to look the part. Now take these and meet me outside training area beta, said All Might as the wall next to the students opened to show 20 briefcases with the names of each student on them. Everyone ran to get their costume and to try them on. Running to the changing room, everyone was happy to see that they are truly becoming heroes. Izuku was the first person out, and he was happy with his costume. Izuku's costume was made from a special fiber and silk that he produced to change and stretch with him. He was wearing a red and green long-sleeve shirt with white strips on it that looked like claw marks. His pants were long and tight around his legs, which would be a little loose near the hips to give him more freedom of movement while keeping protection. His pants also had the claw-like white marks. He also had a pair of special shoes he had made that were like the rest of his suit, but they had a bit more firmness to them. Izuku also had unique glasses or goggles that folded out from an earpiece he had that could cover his eyes, mainly to stop things hitting his eyes because he was moving fast. Finishing off the costume was what looked like a black cape behind him. All Might was stand a little distance away from the entrance. He was excited to see his young inheritor of his quirk, but he also was interested in another student. Izuku Midoriya, a young strong student who to him is a very caring and protective person. All Might could tell that the kid had trained before coming to the school. He also saw the amount of control that the young hero had with his quirk. With his intelligence in the field of zoology and anatomy, young Midoriya would be a great and successful person, but mix in his strong quirk, and he is one of the most powerful people in the school, maybe even in Japan. It also means that if he was to ever turn, he could be a monster, but luckily he has a righteous heart. Thought All Might be looking at Izuku. Izuku could hear the voices and footsteps of his classmates coming, and when he turned around, he was excited to see all the costumes that his classmates had. The first person that he saw was his brother Katsuki, and he had the costume they both helped make, which was like a big sign that said explosions here, same as canon. He saw some of the guys and their outfits looked like they all had effective use of their quirks and to not hinder movement. With Ida looking like a knight, Denki had an electric punk look, Kirishima was topless with red gears, Siro was a tape dispenser. Koda looked like a duck, but he was interesting to Izuku seeing that his quirk didn't work on him even though he is an animal. Shoji was a tall guy with 6 arms, so his suit was a little basic. Fumikage was black on black, which made sense. Shoto was in a climber suit with a weird metal vest on. Then there was Shinso, who looked like a ninja with a black cloth covering his mouth instead of a mask, similarly to how would wear his scarf. All canon, other than Shinso. When Izuku looked over to the girls, he froze and was trying not to faint from blushing. The girls in his class were most definitely attractive, and to add the fact their costumes just made them look better. After composing himself, he looked at the girls again to get a better look at their costumes. Ochiko was wearing a skin-tight pink suit and a helmet that made her look like an astronaut. Azui was in a skin-tight frog suit. Mina was in a pink and purple skin-tight suit with a domino mask on. Jiru looked like a rock star. And then there was Momo, who, wait, is that even considered clothing? Thought Izuku looked at Momo, who had a red leotard and a short yellow skirt, and that was it. Wait, where's? Izuku's thoughts were cut off when he saw a mist surround him. Looking around him, Izuku couldn't see anyone, but he knew who could do this, especially with the mist. Cammy, I know it's you, said Izuku, before feeling a hand slither its way up his stomach with the mist in front of him fading, revealing Cammy standing in front of him wearing her hero costume. So what do you think, handsome? Asked Cammy, leaning seductively against Izuku, who was trying his best not to blush at the action and the costume. Cammy was in a full black bodysuit with black boots, and a police cap, and a whip. Izuku got a very good look at her costume, and to say it fit her was an understatement. It is, definitely, your style, said Izuku, trying his best to not stutter and failing. But before Cammy could do anything else, a strong gust of wind blew the mist away. showing Pony and Itsuka, whose hands had grown to massive size, standing in the hero costumes looking at Izuku and Cammy. "You seem to be enjoying your time with Izuku," said Pony with a smile too kind to be real. It scared Izuku to his core. But Izuku's fear was pushed aside when he saw their costumes. Pony looked like a cowgirl from the Midwest of America, while Itsuka was wearing a martial arts kip pow. And all the costumes suited them and their styles. While talking to the girls about their costumes and what they might do for the lesson, Izuku heard someone call his name. Turning around, he was face to face with another student. "So you're Izuku. It is nice to meet you. I'm Melissa Shield. Would it be okay if I asked you about your quirk?" asked Melissa. Izuku has put a lot of time into his hobbies, ranging from his borderline obsession with animals to the point he could have a degree in zoology. Same goes for heroes and anything related to heroes. So the moment he heard the girl in front of him say that her name was Shield, he lost it. "Wait, Shield. Like David Shield, the greatest inventor of all time and All Might's personal suit maker. You're related to that David Shield," said Izuku, with stars in his eyes and the biggest smile on his face. Izuku was basically going crazy at the fact that he gets to talk to someone who is related to the greatest inventor of their time. He was so excited to talk to the girl that he didn't realize that he had grown a wolf's tail and started wagging like a happy dog. The only thing pulling him out of his own mind was the laughing of his classmates. Blushing, Izuku put his tail away and tried to talk to the girl about his quirk, but was cut off by All Might getting their attention. "All right, students, today we will be having reaching behind his back and pulling out a whiteboard battle training," said All Might. "For today's training, you will have to find or defend a bomb that has been planted in a building. Now most people think that criminals work outside, but the real criminals work indoors where they have more advantages. So now time to randomly assign you to teams to see who will be fighting who," said All Might, pulling out 2 boxes with balls that have numbers on them. "Sorry to interrupt you, sir, but the way we are randomizing our partners. Wouldn't it be better to pick a partner?" asked Ida. All Might was about to answer but was cut off by Izuku. "It's because when heroes have to respond to a crime, they don't know who they will have to work with, so they have to be ready for anything," responded Izuku. "Exactly. Now come up and see who you will be with," said All Might. Everyone walked up and pulled a ball out to get their teams. The teams are as follows: Tinya, Cammy; Shiro, Koda; Tokoyami, Melissa; Siyu, Itsuka; Katsuki, Momo; Jiro, Shoto; Shoji, Izuku; Uraraka, Mina; Pony, Kaminari; Shinso, Kirishima. "All right, kiddos, now that we have your teams made up, time to see who will be fighting who," said All Might, pulling out another box from somewhere, using the balls inside to see who will be fighting who. Villains: Shinso, Kirishima; heroes: Shoji, Izuku; villains: Tsu, Itsuka; heroes: Katsuki, Momo; villains: Tokoyami, Melissa; heroes: Jiro, Shoto; villains: Pony, Kaminari; heroes: Shiro, Koda; villains: Tinya, Cammy; heroes: Uraraka, Mina. After getting the teams assigned and the battle times ready, everyone except those in the first battle went to the observation room to watch the battle. "All right, Shoji, let's try and come up with a plan to beat Kirishima and Shinso," said Izuku, looking at his 6-armed friend. Shoji looked to Izuku to see what kind of idea he had to beat their 2 classmates. "If I am right, your quirk allows you to make more arms which can grow other sensory organs. 'Cause if that is the case, then we can use that to our advantage," said Izuku, explaining the plan to Shoji. "All right, students, prep time is up, time to start," said All Might over the intercoms, starting the battle trial. "All right, you know the plan. I will stay with the bomb, and you can go and try and brainwash the enemies," said Kirishima as he hardened his arms and readied himself to protect the bomb, while Shinso walked out of the room to find his opponents. "I guess this is the perfect type of training I can get for my villainous quirk, but if I can beat the strongest student, I can prove that even my quirk is strong," thought Shinso. Shinso walked throughout the building calling out, trying to get one of the heroes to fall into his trap. But there was nothing, not even a sound of them walking around. "What are they doing? Have they even entered the building yet?" Shinso asked himself. That's when he heard it, the sound of glass breaking, and from the direction that the sound came from, it was in the bomb room. Running back to the room to try and help his team made only to feel a long tendrils hit him in the chest as soon as he made it to the stairs. Looking back at the stairs, he saw that the lights were taken out, making it pitch black. "So you were trying to separate me and my teammate, right? What scared you that you can only win by keeping us apart?" said Shinso, but got no response. Hearing the battle happening in the bomb room, Shinso knew that only one of them was holding the stairs, but he doesn't know which one. They both have quirks that can make tendrils. Knowing that each second he spends down there is another second closer they get to getting the bomb. In the intercom room, All Might and the other students watched the match. Seeing how Shoji made multiple eyes to look for the bomb, and how Izuku carried himself and Shoji up the wall by sticking to the wall like a spider, catching the eye of an interested frog girl. They then used Izuku's tail that he grew to break the window and get into the room with the bomb, with Izuku running through the door to stop Shinso from getting to the room. Alright, Shoji is dealing with Kirishima, and I get Shinso. I know that I could have just taken Kirishima out, but that wouldn't be much of a training for him or Shinso, and it would not let my teammate show his skills, thought Izuku. Heading to the stairs, Izuku increased his hearing to see if he could hear Shinso come, and he did. Making it to the stairs, Izuku heard him on the floor below, and in an instant grow an octopus tentacle and hit the light and Shinso in one swing. Once Izuku blacked out the stairwell, he climbed to the top of the ceiling of the stairwell and went as quiet as possible, giving himself better vision with cat eyes to see. And like a predator, he waited for his prey to enter the trap. While waiting for Shinso to come into the stairwell, Izuku heard a wall break to see Kirishima on the ground with Shoji trying to get the capture tape around him. Did he really just push him through a wall? Izuku thought. In the confusion, Izuku didn't see Shinso come up the stairs and right past him. "Hey freak, where's the other weirdo at? Or is this just a one-man freak show?" asked Shinso. Before Izuku could do anything, Shoji answered Shinso. "Sorry, but," Shoji said before freezing in place. Kirishima got up and punched Shoji, knocking him out. Izuku was both mad and disappointed. Mad cause he just watched his teammate get knocked out and did nothing, and disappointed that he let Shinso get past him. Clearing his mind, Izuku made his move. Hearing Izuku behind him, Shinso turned around and was about to say something when something hit his mouth. "Aha, no more words from you," said Izuku as Shinso realized that his mouth was covered and he couldn't talk. Kirishima tried to punch Izuku with his hardened fist only to punch an ankylosaur's plate on Izuku's chest. Looking up at Izuku to see him smiling. "My turn," Izuku said, cocking his fist back, causing muscles of a mantis shrimp to form. Izuku punched Kirishima in his hardened chest, sending him through 2 walls and knocking him out. Turning to Shinso, who had finally got the silk off his face, slowly walked to him and the bomb next to him. Shinso tried saying anything he could to get a response from Izuku, but all he got was a slow walk and a red-eyed stare from Izuku, which was enough to scare Shinso. When Izuku got within arm's reach, Shinso tried one last attack to get Izuku, but he just dodged the attack, and Shinso felt a prick in his side. Looking and seeing a giant scorpion stinger in his side, he felt sleepy and was about to pass out. Before passing out, he left Izuku with one last sentence. "I guess a villain's quirk will always lose to a hero's quirk," said Shinso as he passed out. With no one to stop him, Izuku touched the bomb, winning the round. Back in the observation room, all the students except for Itsuka and Pony were shocked at Izuku's versatility and how scary he can be. All Might was both happy and scared at the same time. Happy because he saw a strong future hero, but scared because if a certain villain ever got this quirk, he would be unstoppable. Collecting his mind, All Might called the wind and had Izuku help get the other students to recover. After getting back from recovery, girls Izuku, Shoji, and Kirishima saw the rest of the class looking at them. Where's Shinso?" asked Mina, with the rest of the class wanting to know the answer as well. "He will be asleep for about an hour. I only gave him a small dose of a neurological toxin that induces drowsiness. Don't worry, it was not near fatal to anyone," said Izuku, getting to the rest of the class. "Okay, now it is time to discuss the outcome of the training and to say who the MVP of the match was. Who would like to give their input on their trial?" asked All Might to the class. Seeing a hand in the air, All Might picked Momo to explain. "Thank you. When it came to the trial, the MVP would have to go to Izuku, but at the same time there were a lot of things he could have done to end the trial faster, like taking out Kirishima as soon as he and Shoji entered the room, explained Momo. Yes, you are right, young Yaoyorozu. Izuku was the one to make the plan so that he and his teammate could show off their skills, but a hero should try and end a battle as soon as possible, said All Might. Once they were done explaining the battle, they got ready for the next battle. Villains, Tsu, Itsuka, and the heroes, Katsuki, Momo. I know that Itsuka is strong and can hold her own in a fight, but Kaken and Momo are also strong, and they can both be a problem for Itsuka. So unfortunately, I think Kaken and Momo will win. But let's see, I could be wrong, thought Izuku looking at the screens in the observation room. With the signal from All Might, the next round started, and just as Izuku thought, Itsuka and Tsu put up a good fight, but they lost to Katsuki and Momo. But Izuku was a little interested in Tsu's quirk, which gives her the property of a frog. Izuku wondered if it was only one type of frog or if it was all frog species. The other matches went about the same, as Izuku would analyze them and make a prediction of who would win. There were some things that Izuku wondered about his fellow classmates' quirks though, but there was one fight Izuku couldn't have predicted. Villains, Tokoyami, Melissa, and heroes, Jiro, Shoto. Izuku thought that the Shoto's team would take the win pretty easily, but when the round started, his idea went right out the window. When the round started, Shoto walked up to the building and froze it. But after about 5 minutes, and All Might not call the match, Shoto got confused. Jiro plugged her earphone jacks into the building and could hear them moving around in the upper floor. Walking into the building, Shoto was ready to freeze both of the enemies when out of nowhere Dark Shadow slammed into Shoto with its massive size due to the low amount of light. Jiro was about to help when Melissa broke the ceiling above Jiro and landed on her back, holding her down with one hand and wrapping her up with capture tape using her other hand. Tokoyami was about to congratulate his teammate when he and Dark Shadow were completely frozen solid. Looking over to the end of Dark Shadow, Melissa saw Shoto standing with a hand on Dark Shadow. Looking at Melissa, Shoto sent a wall of ice at the girl only to have it shatters by the girl's fist, and before he could recover from the frost growing on his body, Melissa blitzed him and knocked him out, winning the round. After seeing the battle, Izuku was curious about Melissa's quirk and Shoto's quirk. Villains, Pony, Kaminari, and heroes, Zero, Koda, with Koda being very passive, and with the help of Izuku training Pony, the villain team won, with Kaminari trying to hug Pony, but Pony wouldn't let him, causing Izuku to get a little mad. Mainly caused to him, another male is trying to take his mate. The final round, villains, Tenya, Cammy, and heroes, Uraraka, Mina. It was pretty interesting seeing that Cammy got both Uraraka and Mina in an illusion, with the two girls not making any progress after 10 minutes. Both Ida and Cammy captured the two heroines and won their match. Once all the students were back and All Might give his final speech about how the training went and how everyone did, he quickly ran off, leaving the class to walk back to the classroom to get their stuff to go home. Walking back to the class, Izuku was talking to Pony and Itsuka while Cammy was talking to Mina. When they were about to get to the changing room to get out of their hero costumes, Izuku saw Shinso in front of him and remembered what he said at the end of their match. Making it to the changing room, Izuku walked over to Shinso to talk. "Hey, can we talk?" asked Izuku. Shinso turned around to see Izuku and scoffed. "What do you want to talk about? Do you want to flaunt your one over me? Or do you want to tell me how a villain will always lose?" asked Shinso rhetorically. "I can easily kill people," said Izuku, getting a surprised expression from Shinso, but also everyone else in the changing room, including Katsuki, who didn't expect to hear his brother say that. "What?" asked Shinso. "I can easily kill people, scare them for life both physically and mentally. I can literally give people nightmares. I can become an actual monster. And yes, I have been told my quirk could be a villain's quirk and that I am a freak. But I don't do any of the things people call villainous. Here's a question for you. If a quirk is what makes someone a villain, then a lot of heroes should be villains, right? I mean, there have been a lot of villains with super strength, with giganticification, elemental control. So why are they heroes if the quirk makes them a villain? A real villain is someone who chooses to be a villain, not because of their quirk," said Izuku, shocking everyone in the room and causing Shinso to see Izuku in a different light than before, and for Katsuki to drop his head, remembering a time when Izuku was bullied for being a freak when he changed shape. After saying his piece, Izuku looked at Shinso, and everyone else was agreeing with Izuku, and even adding their own experiences, showing Shinso that his quirk is not villainous and that he is among friends and people that wouldn't bully him for his quirk. Finally accepting that he was in the wrong, Shinso thanked Izuku and everyone, and Izuku knew that he had just made a new friend. Finishing their business in the changing room, the boys all walked back to the classroom to get the rest of their supplies and go home. Heading to school the next day, the news about All Might being a teacher spread rather fast, as when Izuku, Pony, and Itsuka made it to school, there was a massive group of news reporters blocking the way into the school. Walking up, a newswoman ran over to them. "What's it like having All Might as a teacher?" asked the woman. "We're in the general studies course," replied Izuku with a straight face. "Oh, we don't want you." "How look, they might be the hero course," said the reporter, running to Ida, who gave them a lecture about having All Might as a teacher. "That was smart thinking there. That saved us the headache," said Itsuka, patting Izuku on the back, Pony holding his hand, also praising him, which to Itsuka made her feel jealous of the American horse girl. But she would never let Izuku know that. But unfortunately for her, Pony could read the expression on her face like an open book. She also likes Izuku, and from the looks of it, she has had these feelings for some time. "I might want to talk to her about it," thought Pony. Walking into the school, the group went to class, where they saw the rest of the students who had made it past the press. Once everyone was in the classroom and the bell rang, walked into the room and got the attention of the students. "All right, we would normally have class today, but," said Aizawa as the class got scared they would get expelled. "Today you will be picking a president and vice president of the class," said Aizawa. "It's a normal school activity," said everyone, which then led to almost everyone raising their hands to volunteer for the position. Everyone is yelling that they want to be class president. "Everyone, we need to do this democratically to decide on who should be the class president," said Ida, even though he had his hand raised the highest. "Wouldn't everyone just vote for themselves, though?" said Kaminari. "Exactly. If someone here has gained the trust of people in only a couple days, then they should be the right person to lead," said Ida. After getting everyone to settle down, they all put their votes in, and Ida tallied them up and wrote the names and points on the board, with Izuku and Momo getting the most points. Izuku, 5. Momo, 2. "So by vote, your class president and vice president are Izuku Midoriya and Momo Yaorazu," said Ida, with Izuku and Momo standing in front of the class. Looking at each other, Izuku smiled and went to tell the class thank you for voting for him, while Momo was thinking to herself about wanting to be the president. Once he was done, the rest of class went on like normal until it was time for lunch. Heading to lunch, the Deku squad, consisting of Izuku, Pony, Itsuka, Cammy, Shinso, and Katsuki. They all got food and started talking about how Izuku was now their class president. "Congratulations on becoming the class president. I knew you would be the best choice," said Pony, giving Izuku a hug. "So we know who voted for Izuku. Who else voted for Izuku other than me and Pony?" said Itsuka, with Izuku looking at the two girls in shock that they voted for him. "I did, obviously. Our little green machine is the best choice in my opinion," said Cammy, eating her food seductively, looking at Izuku. Izuku just blushing and looking away, with Pony noticing how Cammy is looking and acting around Izuku, knowing that she has to talk to Cammy as well as Itsuka. "Well, now we know all who voted for Izuku, with the three girls, me and Izuku. That's 5 votes, said Shinso. "But I didn't vote for myself," said Izuku, getting a shocked face from everyone. "Wait, if you didn't vote for yourself, then who did?" asked Itsuka. "I did," said Katsuki, with everyone at the table not believing him. "Sorry, but I don't believe you. You had a vote to your name, and you wanted to be president just as bad as Ida. And you're telling me that you voted for Izuku," said Itsuka. "That would be me. I voted for Kaken," said Izuku, getting everyone to look back at him. "I know that Kaken can be a little extra at times, but he has a good head on his shoulders, and he is a natural leader," said Izuku. As the group was about to ask Izuku what he was talking about, a loud alarm went off, scaring everyone and sending everyone into a panic. People were running to the doors, but the class of 1A had no idea of what was going on. As Izuku was looking around, Katsuki grabbed an upper-class man to ask what was going on. "Hey, senior bastard, what the hell is going on?" asked Katsuki. "It's a security breach. Someone has gotten past the UA wall." "This hasn't happened the entire time I have been here," said the upperclassman before running off into the crowd of students. with everyone pushing and shoving. It was hard to get through the horde of students, and everyone was getting pushed. Itsuka was being pushed against the wall, while Katsuki was trying to help her. Cammy and Pony were together, and they were about to get knocked over when Izuku got in the people's way and stopped them. Getting mad, Izuku looked around and saw the window and looked out just to see the media. This pissed Izuku off to see that everyone was going crazy because of the media and that his friends and mate were getting hurt. Knowing he needed to get everyone to stop, looking up to the door, he saw a sign and got an idea. "Cammy, make sure you and Pony are okay. I will be right back," said Izuku as he changed into a small fly and made his way to the sign. Changing back to his human form on the sign, he took a deep breath before releasing a massive roar of a lion, the one animal that everyone has heard and the roar that demands respect. Freezing everyone in place and getting their attention, Izuku yelled that it was just the media and for everyone to calm down. Once everyone was settled down, Izuku made his way down and got back to the others. Once he made it, Pony tackled him with a hug, and Itsuka and Cammy were not far behind. They were happy that the problem was solved. As Mr. Aizawa and Present Mike were getting the rest of the reporters out when they saw the gate to UA, or what was left of it. The gate was just gone, like it was just removed from the wall itself. Powerloader and Nizu were looking at the wall with the other two teachers, and they were wondering how that happened. No reporter could or would do this. So the thoughts on their minds was, who did this? Getting back to the class, everyone was talking about the alarm and how Izuku got everyone to stop. "All right, everyone. After seeing the results of the alarm going off and how you all acted, I would like to say that Izuku has demonstrated what it means to be a leader and to take charge. I know your quirk has a natural sense that makes you want to be the alpha and to defend what is yours. So be the class president and defend your class," said Mr. Aizawa, scaring the class with how nice he is being. "Will do, sir," said Izuku with pride in his chest. Once the alarm issue was solved and the class got back into the swing of things, the end of the day was coming fast. With the class ending and people going home, Izuku was about to finish packing his stuff when Momo walked over and got his attention. "What can I do for you?" asked Izuku. "I would like to talk to you about some of the president and vice president jobs and other class-related matters," said Momo. Nodding his head, Izuku stayed behind with Momo and talked about their class jobs, getting each other's phone numbers to keep in contact just in case, and about setting up a class group chat. Once everything was done, it was nighttime and the street lights were all that lit the way. Walking to the exit of the school, Izuku was about ready to take off into the night, but was stopped by Momo. "I am sorry for keeping you so late. Let my personal driver give you a ride home," said Momo with her phone in her hand with a message to her driver already sent. Izuku was ready to just run home, but he didn't want to be rude. The limo arrived and Izuku and Momo got in, with Izuku telling the driver where he lived, with Momo and Izuku starting a conversation as they were being driven. "So you can make almost anything. That would make you one of the most versatile heroes out there," said Izuku. "Me? You can change into anything and have their ability. That makes you the most versatile hero by a long shot," said Momo with a blush. As the two kept talking, they got to know more and more about each other until it came time for Izuku to say goodnight and head into his house. Making it to class, Izuku was talking with Katsuki about how he can increase his explosive yield if he condensed his sweat to a smaller point, causing a more concentrated blast. As they were talking, Izuku could hear the girls coming through the halls and into the room. Pony, Itsuka, and Cammy walked into the room talking to each other until they saw Izuku and were about to go over to him. But they saw Izuku perk up and move to his seat, meaning Mr. Aizawa was on his way. Walking into the classroom, Mr. Aizawa was happy to see that all his students were already in their seats, ready to learn. "All right, everyone. I saw the videos of your battle training yesterday, and I can already see places where some people can improve. But for today, we will be taking a trip over to a special training facility for rescue training," said Aizawa, getting the class excited to learn more heroic lessons. Getting the class to calm down using a little of his quirk to add a flair to his killing intent that made the whole room quiet. "We will be going there shortly. You can wear your hero costumes if you would like, but as some of you may have found, there could be problems with your costume that can hinder your actions. Once you are ready, meet by the buses outside," said Aizawa, walking out of the room, soon followed by the rest of the class with their costumes. Making it outside, all the students were standing around waiting for the teachers to arrive. While waiting, Pony decided that now was the best time to talk to the two girls that have feelings for her boyfriend. Pulling Itsuka and Cammy to the side and away from the others, Pony looked at the two confused girls. "I am going right to the point. Do you two have feelings for Izuku?" asked Pony with a serious face. "Wait, what are you talking about, Izuku? No. We are just good friends," said Itsuka, pausing midway through her sentence. "I'm not going to lie, I really like Izuku. He is about the only person here that I can talk to about anything," said Cammy without hiding anything. Looking at Itsuka, Pony and Cammy could tell that Itsuka wanted to say something, but at the same time didn't. "Itsuka, you know that I can tell you like him, right?" said Pony. Knowing that she couldn't hide it anymore, she decided to finally see what she really wanted to say. "Yes, I like him. Who wouldn't like him? He's perfect," said Itsuka, hiding her red face behind her hands after the outburst. "Well, now that we know that all of us like the same boy, what do we do now? I mean, you're already his girlfriend, but I don't know if I can find someone else better than him," said Itsuka, looking at Pony. Thinking to herself, Pony didn't know what to do. On one hand, she didn't want to share Izuku. She wanted him all to herself. But she also knew that the two girls in front of her really love Izuku, and that it wouldn't be too weird for one person to have multiple lovers. Given that once quirks came about, certain laws about marriages had changed. Making up her mind, Pony finally talked. "If it is okay with you two, I wouldn't mind sharing him. But I have some rules if we are to share him. 1. None of us can hog his attention. 2. We will not force Izuku to do anything he doesn't want to do. Finally, 3. If Izuku doesn't agree to this, we will respect his wishes," said Pony to the two girls. With two very fast yes from the girl, Pony had her answer and now had to tell Izuku and see his reaction. Walking over to said boy, Pony was about to get his attention when the teachers arrived and had everyone get on the bus. As they were getting on, Izuku could see that I'd wanted to say something, but once they were on the bus, whatever thoughts Ida had died. Sitting between Katsuki and Pony, Izuku was thinking about the training and what kind of rescues they will be doing. "Midoriya, just how strong are you?" asked Mina, getting the attention of the others on the bus. "What do you mean by strong? Like how physically strong I am, how fast I am, how much damage I can do?" asked Izuku. "I mean, all of the above would be good, given that it seems you can do just about anything," said Kirishima, with others agreeing. "I can't do everything. If I die, there is no coming back from the ashes. I can't bring people back from the dead, and I can't control the elements. Even I have my limits," said Izuku, surprising his classmates with what he said. "Oh yeah, that reminds me. Azui, does your quirk give you the abilities of all frog species, or just a certain one?" asked Izuku. "Call me Tsu, and I don't know. I only know of the abilities I have so far," said Tsu. "Interesting. I only asked because if you had the abilities of all frog species, you would be a very versatile hero," said Izuku, causing Tsu to blush a little. Unknown to the green-haired boy, there were 3 girls glaring at him with an aura of jealousy around them. There was also another girl who didn't know what she was feeling, just that seeing Izuku making another girl blush made her feel weird. Pulling up to the training facility, the whole class exited the bus, but instead of seeing just a massive building, they also saw a whole other class there. Seeing their sister class, everyone was interested to see the other class. "Also, we have the class that is supposed to be so much better than us. And look, they are arriving late. How are you supposed to be better than us if?" said a blonde-haired boy before he was knocked out by a black-haired boy in a Chinese-style costume. Hearing a voice coming from the side, the class looked over, seeing a green-haired girl in a purple skin-tight suit. "Sorry for him. He can be a little extra at times. Let me introduce myself. My name is Setsuna Tokage, class president of Class 1B. Nice to meet all of you," said Setsuna. Hearing the sound of someone running to them, Class 1 saw the black-haired student that knocked out the blonde-haired studnet making his way to them. Sorry for not introducing myself. I had to deal with Monoma. Name's Hiryu Rin, Class 1B Vice President. Pleasure to meet you all," said Rin. Taking a step forward, Izuku introduced himself. "Nice to meet you too. I am Izuku Midoriya, Class 1A's President. I look forward to having class with you," said Izuku with a big smile on his face. Getting a similar smile from Rin and a little blush on Setsuna as she also smiled. Stepping up next to Izuku, Momo also introduced herself. "Hello, I am Momo Yaoyorozu, Class Vice President. It is a pleasure to meet you as well, said Momo, getting a couple of glances from Rin and the other boys from Class 1B at her costume. As the classes started to talk to each other, they all heard a voice coming from the massive training building. Turning around, they saw a person standing there in a puffy astronaut costume. OMG, it's the space hero, 13. She is my favorite, said an excited Uraraka. Yes, I am 13, and I will be your rescue training instructor. Welcome to my training facility made to help young heroes learn the ins and outs of rescue operations. This is the Unforeseen Simulation Joint, or USJ for short, said 13, gesturing to the massive building behind her. Walking into the building, the students were amazed at the facility and how many different areas there are for training. At first glance, there is a shipwreck area with a massive indoor lake, a mountain area, a landslide zone with buried buildings, a red dome with flame patterns on it, a zone with destroyed buildings, and another dome with storm cloud patterns on it, all connected to the central plaza. Seeing all the different areas, the students were thinking about all the different training they could get. As Izuku was talking to Pony, he got a weird sense. Seeing her boyfriend change, Pony was worried. Izuku, are you okay? Asked Pony. Not answering her, Izuku was looking at the central plaza like there was something there. Before he could tell Pony that he was okay, a dark purple portal opened up. Seeing this, Izuku warned Aizawa and the other teachers. As the portal grows, a hand comes out of it, followed by a pale-skinned man with severed hands covering his body, with dozens of others following out of the portal behind him. Seeing this, all the students were freaked out at the amount of people coming out of the portal. Is this part of the training? Asked Kirishima. No, these are villains, said Aizawa, pulling his goggles up with Vlad King, Class 1B's teacher, right next to him. Izuku was about to ask if he could help, but then he got a bad feeling. Looking to the portal, he saw a large dark-skinned creature come through with a bird beak and an exposed brain. Seeing this creature, Izuku's instincts were going crazy like a predator had just entered his home. Mr. Aizawa, that thing, it's not human, it's some kind of monster, said Izuku, pointing at the dark bird creature. What do you mean by that? Asked Aizawa, confused by how Izuku was acting. It scares me, said Izuku. Hearing this, Aizawa was on edge. Knowing that Izuku was not scared easily, given that he has apex predators in his arsenal and that he was never affected by his killing intent, made him worried that whatever it was, it could be dangerous. Seeing his teacher worried about him, Izuku used his quirk to make him have the mentality of the honey badger, eliminating his fear. Sir, what should we do? Asked Izuku. Protect your classmates and get out of here. 13. Protect the students as well, said Aizawa as he and Vlad King jumped down the stairs to start fighting the villains. You heard your teacher. Make your way to the door and exit the facility now, said 13. Making their way to the door, the two classes were stopped by a mist villain that had the same appearance as the portal that brought the villains to the facility. I am sorry to say, but none of you will be leaving. We can't let you go and warn the other heroes. Even if your primary target isn't here, we can still take out 3 heroes and 2 whole classes of students. That might get All Might here, said the mist villain. You won't be hurting anyone today, said 13, getting in front of the students and opening one of the ports on her finger, about to use her quirk, but had to stop when 4 students lunged at the villain. What are you doing? Get out of the way, yelled 13 as the villain was unharmed by the attacks, spreading his body out around the other students. Sensing danger, Izuku pushed Pony away from the mist as it swallowed him and others up. Once the mist went away, there were a large number of students missing, including Izuku. Seeing her boyfriend just disappear, Pony was frozen. Darkness was all Izuku saw after pushing Pony away. Then he felt a sense of movement until he was forced out of the darkness right into a fall. Looking around, Izuku saw he was falling from the sky. Looking down, he saw the water of the shipwreck zone. Bracing for impact, Izuku hit the water. Growing gills and fins, Izuku started swimming around and saw Setsuna hit the water and start swimming to the surface. Making his way to her, he felt a disturbance in the water. Looking down a little, Izuku saw a shark-like villain coming towards Setsuna. Swimming to the surface, Setsuna was trying to get out of the water and back to help her class. Looking around, she could see a villain that looked like a humanoid shark coming right at her. Not seeing an option to escape, Setsuna prepared to fight the best she could. But right before the villain could bite her, he was struck by a massive orca tail. Looking to where the tail came from, Setsuna saw Izuku swimming there, making sure the villain was unconscious. Looking to Setsuna, Izuku grabbed her and swam her and himself to the surface fast so that Setsuna could get a breath of air. Making it to the surface, Izuku could see the shipwreck and made his way to the ship and helped the girl on, also meeting Tsu on the ship. "Thank you, Midoriya. You saved me," said Setsuna to Izuku, who climbed onto the ship and changed back to normal. "It's no problem. But there is a situation. We are surrounded," said Izuku, and indeed they were surrounded by a couple dozen villains in the water. Taking a second to try and think of something, the three students waited to make a choice. "All right, we need to do something. At the moment, they don't know what we can do, so they are not attacking, but soon they will try something, and we need to be ready," said Izuku to the girls. "Well, I guess we can start with quirks, given that you guys are classmates. I am guessing that you already know each other's quirks, but I don't. I can start. My quirk is called Lizard Tail Splitter. It allows me to separate my body into pieces that I can control and move around freely," said Setsuna. "That's useful. My quirk is simple. I have the treats of a frog. Increased jump distance, long tongue, climbing," Kero said Tsu. Pushing his desire to know more about the girl's quirks, Izuku went next. "My quirk is called Animal Kingdom. I can change into any animal or insect that is or has lived on this earth. I can freely change individual parts of my body to anything I want. I can have 3 changes before I start feeling pain," said Izuku. "Wait, any creature? Can he turn into a dinosaur? I need to ask him after this situation subsides," thought Setsuna. As they were talking, a villain attacked the boat and cut it in half, causing the ship to start sinking. Seeing the boat sinking, the villains prepared to attack the students. The students were not faring so well. Seeing the ship sinking, Izuku got an idea to beat the villains. "I got an idea. Tsu, I need you to take Setsuna and jump as high as you can and stay as far away from the water as possible," said Izuku. "Wait, what about you? What are you going to do?" asked Setsuna. "I am going to electrocute the water and shock them," said Izuku. Hearing what Izuku said, the girls realized that he was telling them to stay away to keep them safe. Grabbing Tsu, Setsuna split her body and started to float upward with Tsu. With a strong kick, both girls were sent into the air and away from the ship. Seeing the girls getting away, Izuku turned to the water and had a grin on his face. "This should be fun to see what I can do to villains." Jumping into the water, the villains were a little surprised to see the student jump into the water with them. Before they could try anything, Izuku's skin changed and an electrical discharge went off, shocking all the villains. Looking around after discharging the electricity, Izuku saw that the villains were all knocked out from the shock. "Good. I didn't know if I could make enough electricity to knock all of them out. But it seems it took a lot out of me to do that," said Izuku out loud, catching his breath. "Izuku, are you okay?" Kero Tsu asked, floating down with Setsuna. "Yeah, I'm okay. Just a little tired, but I will be okay in a minute," said Izuku. Once Izuku got his breath back, he made his way to the shore with the girls to get out of the shipwreck area. Making it to the shore, the teens were terrified at the sight in front of them. "Oh my god. No, 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 no. This can't be happening," said Setsuna, covering her mouth with her hands and having a look of fear on her face. Ruin Zone, couple minutes earlier. "You're dead, kid," yelled a villain before having a hand slammed on his face, stopping him mid-attack, then being exploded in the face. In a room of one of the damaged buildings, there were 4 students fighting off villains and winning with little problem. There was Katsuki Bakugo detonating explosions and knocking out villains left and right. Tetsu, and Ijiro Kirishima using their quirks to tank and deal out damage, shaking off the attacks of the villains and knocking them out with their metal and hardened skin respectively. Tagaru Kamakiri was slashing and bashing villains with blunted blades protruding from his arms. Knocking out the last villain, the 4 looked around and saw that they were in the ruin zone and that there didn't seem to be any more villains left. "What happened? One second we are attacking the mist guy, and the next second we end up here?" asked Tagaru, an average-looking teen with a mantis-like head with sharp mandibles on the sides of his jaw. "No idea. Bakugo, what do you think?" asked Kirishima. Katsuki didn't answer him. Instead, he was looking around and had a distant look on his face. Turning to the other three, Katsuki was about to talk to them, but stopped when a villain tried to attack while camouflaged but was knocked out by an explosion. Nice try, dumbass. Attack the guy who trains with someone who can camouflage. Real smart, said Katsuki. Dang man, how did you do that? Asked Kirishima. Yeah, I had no idea he was even there. But you acted like he was as visible as you and me, said Tagaru. I train with my brother all the time, and his quirk can do something similar to invisibility. At first it was annoying to fight something you can't see, but eventually I learned to use other senses like hearing and smell. My hearing is better than a normal person given that I am used to explosive sounds, said Katsuki. After saying his piece, Katsuki made his way out of the building with the other three behind him. Once the four made it outside, they saw a couple more villains in the streets, and they knew that they needed to fight them to get back to the other students. With a feral smile on his face, Katsuki detonated small explosions in his hand before blasting toward the villains with Tetsu and Kirishima hardening their bodies to attack the villains, and Tagaru started jumping from building to building using his blades to launch him at the villains. Landslide zone. As the villains tried to attack the students that landed in the zone with them, they were all stopped by a wave of ice that froze all of them. As the villains looked to the origin of the attack, all they saw was a student walking up to them with ice cracking under his feet as he stopped in front of one of the villains. How did you get here, and why are you here? Asked Shoto Todoroki. Before he could get an answer, a villain tried to stab him in the back with a spear, but Shoto grabbed the spear and sent ice down the spear shaft and covered the villain in ice and locked him in his attacking pose. Another villain came to attack Shoto from behind, but was stopped by a wall of air and knocked out by hard green scales. Turning to the people that just saved him from the villain, Shoto saw Rin standing there with green scales on his arms and another student next to him. Kozai Tsuburaba is the other student with the two, and his quirk allows him to solidify air that he breathes out. Turning to the still frozen villains, Shoto re-asked his question. How did you get here, and why are you here? You don't have very long till frostbite sets in and you start losing body parts, said Shoto, scaring the villains till they told the three students the information they wanted. Learning that the mist guy could open gates from one place to another and that they were there to kill All Might and the students. Getting the info they needed, the boys knocked out the remaining villains and Shoto unfreezing them. They made sure that there were no more villains before making their way to the rest of the class to make sure everyone was okay. Mountain Zone. In the Mountain Zone, there was a group of students who had held on to each other so that they didn't get separated. In the zone were Denki Kaminari, Momo Yaoyorozu, Itsuka Kendo, Juzo Hananuki, and Ibara Shiozaki. These students were currently fighting off a large amount of villains that were charging them. Itsuka was knocking villains out left and right using her knowledge of martial arts and her quirk, enlarging her hands to bash villains away and her flexibility to dodge attacks and counterattack. Momo had made a staff and was doing her best to hold off the villains, making creations out of her body to stop attacks and deter villains from attacking. Kaminari was not doing much, just running up and touching villains with his hands to shock them. Given that if he let loose his electricity, it would hit his friends, meaning that for the time being he was only good as a human taser. Juzo was using his quirk to sink into the ground, and then emerge behind villains and knock them out or pull them under the earth before solidifying the earth back to its original state. Finally, Ibara was in a praying position as her hair like vines attacked and defended her from the villains around her. As the students fought off the villains, they were starting to feel fatigue and exhaustion setting in. To them, it felt like a never-ending wave of villains, and if this keeps up, they won't last much longer. They had to come up with a plan quickly, because people like Ibara and Denki were having trouble with the villains over time. With Ibara not having an infinite amount of vines and Denki only being able to discharge so much electricity before it starts hurting his teammates. Trying to think of a plan, Momo was coming up blank for the first time in her life. Blocking an attack from a villain with her staff, Momo looked over to see that the others were holding, but that they were being pushed into a corner. Seeing Denki, she got an idea. Kendo, I need you to buy me some time, said Momo, concentrating on her quirk. Make it fast, I can't fight forever, said Itsuka, knocking out villains left and right. Getting pushed into a corner, all the students grouped together with Momo behind them. Miss Yaoyorozu, please hurry up with that plan of yours. We are at the edge of our limits, and there seems to be no end to this fight, said Juzo. Done. Everyone under now, said Momo as her suit ripped from her back as a sheet of material in the form of a blanket launched from her back, covering all the students but Denki, who got a thumbs up from Momo telling him to let loose and to not worry. Not having a lot of time to think and trusting his class vice president, Denki smiled as electricity danced off his body as he raised his hands up into the air. Let's do this. Indiscriminate shock, 1.3 million volts, yelled out Denki as he threw his hands down, launching out lightning in all directions. This discharge hit all the villains around him and knocked them out as they all fell with their hair standing on end. Lifting the sheet, Juzo saw that all the villains had been knocked out. Getting out from under the sheet, he saw that Denki was still standing there, but he looked weird. Walking up to Denki, Juzo saw that he had fried his brain and that he had a stupid grin on his face, and he had 2 thumbs up. Well, I think it is safe to say that all the villains here are out for the count, said Juzo, looking back over to the sheet, but before he could finish his turn, a massive hand and vines blocked his eyes. Covering for their friend, Itsuka and Ibara had blocked the line of sight for the boys as Momo's costume was ripped, showing off her very mature body. After making a new costume and getting Denki to start walking with them, the students made their way to the central plaza. Main entrance. After seeing their classmates just disappear, all the students were shocked. But no one was as shocked as Pony, who was frozen with a mix of sadness and fear after seeing Izuku save her and then just be gone. She was stuck there as the rest of the remaining students composed themselves. Seeing the mist villains starting to reform, the other students prepared themselves for the next attack while trying to come up with a plan. But before they could do anything, 13 jumped in front of the students, and one of the ports on her gloves opened up. As soon as the port opened, a powerful pulling force came out, sucking in and disintegrating everything in front of her. You're a villain with a strong quirk, but even you can't avoid a black hole, yelled out 13 as her quirk was sucking up all the mist from the villain. As the mist villain was being sucked in and disintegrated by the black hole, a small amount of the mist gathered, and a portal opened, allowing the pulling force of the black hole to go through the portal. Before any of the students could warn 13, a portal opened behind her and had her own quirk used against her. As the force of the black hole ripped the back of 13's suit, she closed the port on her hands and deactivated her quirk, but it was too late. 13 had fallen to the floor and passed out from the pain on her back, allowing the mist villain to fully reform. Seeing their teacher fall sent a shock through all the students, pushing some of them to tears. Seeing the students brought to tears made the mist villain happy, but as he was taking in the sight of the students, he wasn't ready for a piercing pain to hit him. Looking down at his side, he saw a horn sticking in his body. Looking to where the horn came from, he saw a blonde girl pointing her horns at him with tears rolling down her face. Bring him back, said Pony. Hearing what the girl said, the mist villain was confused by what the girl was asking. Give me Izuka back, yelled out Pony, launching a massive amount of horns at the villain. With Pony making a distraction that gave the remaining students time to compose themselves and come up with a plan. Knowing that they need to get more teachers, the remaining students came up with the plan to get Ida and Jirota outside the USJ and to get back to the main campus building. With Pony distracting the villain and the other students adding in their own help to stop the villain from stopping the two from making their way to the main campus. Seeing that the students were trying to leave, the mist villain tried to make his way to them to stop them, opening a portal and sending the horns back at Pony, but they were stopped by a small rock that changed into a boulder. Looking over at the other students, the mist villain saw that some rocks were flying towards him with a purple aura around them, and right before they hit him, they grew to a massive size, making the villain stop his pursuit of the two students. Both remaining classes helped each other keep the villain in his place as Ida and Jirota pried the door open. They were finally able to open the doors as the other students were holding the mist villain back. Making it outside, Ida's engines roared to life with blue flames blasting out, and Jirota transformed into his beast form and sprinted down the street with Ida right next to him. Seeing that he failed his job, the mist villain disappeared. Seeing that the threat was gone, the students went to check on 13, and seeing that the only person that could bring back Izuku was gone, Pony was devastated. That was until a tentacle tapped her shoulder. Turning around, she could see it was Shoji trying to get her attention. "Don't worry about Midoriya. I used my quirk and I could see him land in the shipwreck zone," said Shoji, pointing towards the shipwreck area. Hearing that her boyfriend was still alive and in the building made Pony happy and stopped her crying. After the students got 13 injuries treated the best they could, they looked out at the other areas and had Shoji use his quirk to see if he could find the others and to see what their situations are like. Learning where some people were and seeing that some were making their way to the central plaza where the two teachers were still fighting. Back with Izuku. Seeing the sight in front of him almost sent him into a rage-filled state, holding back the best he could. Tsu and Setsuna were on the verge of tears after seeing their teachers in the states they were in. Tsu was frozen with a blank face and tears pushing at her eyes. Setsuna had her hand over her mouth as tears had started rolling down her face. She started to close in on herself, taking a small step back from the sight. Setsuna had grabbed onto Izuku's costume, unaware that she was doing this. Both teachers had been beaten to the ground, with Vlad King having a lot of blood on his body and a broken leg. Aizawa was being held down by the massive black creature that Izuku saw. Aizawa had a broken arm and a massive gash on his head. The massive creature was holding their teacher on the ground as the person with hands all over him was talking to him about killing All Might, and how the creature that was on top of him was made to kill the symbol of peace. As the three students were watching this and could hear the plan of the villain, the two girls were not ready to experience a wave of killing intent that came from Izuku. Both girls looked up at Izuku's face, and what they saw scared them. The normally kind and joking boy they knew was not there. Instead, they saw Izuku with his red eyes blazing, his teeth sharpening, and a low, threatening growl coming from him. Both girls were scared, but only one of them knew that she had to stop her classmate from doing something. Tsu, having the abilities of a frog, made her have the senses of the animal as well, so she could tell that Izuku was ready to fight the creature in front of him. Stepping in front of Izuku, Tsu put her hand on his chest like she was trying to push him back. "Izuku, you need to calm down. You can't fight that thing. I know you're strong, but that thing is apparently made to fight All Might. Please stop." Karo said. Tsu tried her best to stop Izuku. Setsuna also tried to help hold back Izuku, but before Izuku could move they all heard someone yelling. Looking to the origin, they all saw Melissa charging at the black beast with yellow lightning dancing off her body. As Melissa punched the beast, a gust of massive wind came from the hit. As the wind cleared, Izuku and the others saw that the hit Melissa used sent the beast a few feet away, but had no other damage. Seeing a chance, Izuku dashed in and grabbed Aizawa and got him away from the fighting. Handing his teacher to the two girls, Izuku told the girls to get their teacher to the top of the stairs and get him help. Before the girls could stop him, he was gone. Appearing next to Melissa, Izuku was ready to fight. "I would ask if you are okay, but I don't see any injuries on you. So I will ask the better question. How do you want to fight this thing?" asked Izuku. "Good to see you are doing okay as well. And yes, I have no serious injuries. I came from the downpour zone and got some of our classmates to go back to the stairs with the others. But to answer your question, we need to hold the villains back so that the rest of our classmates can make their way to the stairs," said Melissa. "So you noticed them as well? I could smell them once they got close. But from what I have seen, this thing is strong," said Izuku. Seeing that the hand villain was getting angry and that there were still some villains left that Vlad King and Aizawa didn't knock out, Izuku knew that this was going to be a massive battle. Noticing that Itsuka and Juzo were getting Vlad King out of the area, gave Izuku a calm state of mind, knowing that he wouldn't have to protect his teachers. Hearing the hand villain tell the others to kill himself and Melissa made Izuku mad. Changing his arms' muscles to mantis shrimp muscles to increase his punching power, and his legs into desert locust legs for jumping and kicking power. And to finish off his changes, he also grows his pangolin plates for armor. Seeing her classmate change, Melissa knew that she was about to see how strong her classmate really is, fighting villains for real. Seeing the villains charge at them, Melissa and Izuku charged into the fight, with Melissa powering up with lightning coming from her body, and Izuku yelling out with a roar of fury. Launching off the ground with his powerful legs, Izuku proceeds to kick the crap out of the villains, launching from one villain to another with his locust legs. Melissa was dashing from villain to villain, knocking them out with her enhanced strength and speed. The two student heroes were fighting. The others made their way to the stairs, and back to the rest of their class. With Itsuka telling Pony what Izuku was doing, Pony told her that they already had people ready to help the injured teacher. As the two classes were talking, they weren't ready for their classmate Melissa to go flying into the wall behind them. Seeing Melissa trying to pull herself out of the wall, the students turned to the central plaza and saw Izuku holding back the black beast's massive hand. As the massive beast was pushing down on him, Izuku had changed his muscles and legs back to normal before making him as strong as a Hercules beetle. Holding the arms back that were about to crush him, Izuku looked at the hand villain and mist villain with rage in his eyes. Feeling his legs giving out, Izuku changed into a fly and got away from the black beast before turning back to normal. "You think you can beat my Nomu? You're joking if you think you can beat him. He was made just for me, to kill All Might, and nothing you do will stop that," said the hand villain. "Wait, kill All Might? This thing was made to kill him. What does he mean by made? Is that thing not a person?" Thought Izuku saw the Nomu just stand there as the hand villain monologues about why they were there, and how this is the place that All Might dies. Not taking any chances, Izuku used the villain's distracted state to come up with an idea. Before he could do anything, though, a yellow flash went past him. Melissa charged the villain with a yellow aura around her hand that she was about to use on the villain. But before the attack landed, the Nomu stepped in front of the hand villain and took the attack instead. With no damage taken and no show of pain, the Nomu just stood there. "You think an attack like that would work? Nomu was made to fight All Might. My Nomu has shock absorption. Nothing you do can stop him," said the hand villain. "Nomu, kill the brats," said the hand villain to the Nomu, who dashed at the students with the intent to kill. Moving out of the way, Melissa tried to attack the Nomu again with punches and kicks. As the Nomu was trying to hit the blonde-haired heroine, it didn't notice a green-haired boy coming from behind it. Izuku changed his arms into tentacles and latched on to the Nomu, holding its arms to its sides, and himself onto the Nomu's back with his increased strength from the Hercules beetle. With the Nomu's arms being held down, Izuku grew a scorpion tail and started stinging the Nomu repeatedly. After about 10 stings, the Nomu was starting to feel the toxin in its system. Seeing that the Nomu was starting to fall, the hand villain was starting to scratch his neck and yelling out in a childish tantrum, before yelling at the Nomu to kill the green-hair boy who was trying to steal his toy. After hearing its master's voice, the Nomu started to rise from the ground as Izuku tried to hold the beast down but couldn't. Getting to its feet, the Nomu dashed at Izuku and started to beat Izuku into the ground. Izuku, seeing the attacks coming but not being able to dodge it, armored up with ankylosaur plates. As the Nomu punched Izuku into the ground constantly, Melissa charged the Nomu to get it off her classmate. Making it to the beast, she tries to pull it off Izuku, but the Nomu wouldn't budge as it continued to push Izuku into the ground. Seeing her boyfriend being beaten into the ground, Pony used her horns to fly down to help him. But even with 4 horns and Melissa trying to help, the Nomu wouldn't stop. Seeing the opening, the hand villain ran to try and grab the girls and kill them, but before he could make it, something he wasn't expecting happened. Landing in front of the Nomu with his hands glowing bright was Katsuki, pointing his gauntlet hands right at the Nomu's face. "Get the hell away from my brother," yelled out Katsuki, blasting the Nomu in the face with a massive explosion, sending the creature flying. As the smoke cleared, there was a face of rage on Katsuki as he stood there facing the Nomu that was getting off the ground it fell in when it was blasted away. As the hand villain was distracted by his creature being sent flying, he was surprised when 2 boys tried to hit him with their hardened skin. Jumping away, the hand villain was right back where he started, next to the mist villain. Getting out of the hole in the ground with the help of Melissa and Pony, Izuku was mad. Izuku was ready to rip that black bastard apart. "Can you still fight?" asked Katsuki to Izuku. "Do you have enough sweat to make an explosion?" asked Izuku rhetorically, as his wounds healed and any internal injuries were fixed. Katsuki didn't answer, but he did smile and light a couple little explosions in his hands. Knowing that his brother was ready to fight, Izuku looked to the others with him to see who could help fight the villains. Pony headed back to the others at the top of the stairs. "We can handle these guys," said Izuku to Pony. "Kirishima, Tetsu, you 2 handle the mist villain. Tagaru, make sure the others get back to the stairs safely. Melissa, you should go with them. If someone gets around us, then you have more than enough strength to deal with them," said Izuku to the other students. With some complaints, the students went to do their tasks. Seeing that his girlfriend was safely away, Izuku turned back to the Nomu and got into a stance next to his brother. "This is going to hurt, isn't it?" asked Katsuki. "Yeah, but it is going to hurt a lot more for him," said Izuku as his body began to change, growing more arms and ankle plates, adding the strength of the dung beetle to himself. Ingjai, Azura form, thought Izuku as his instincts kicked in, making his eyes red again. "Noma killed them already," yelled the hand villain as the Nomu charged the two boys. Seeing that their opponent was charging, both boys knew what they needed to do. Blasting off, Katsuki went above the Nomu as Izuku went straight to the beast. Slamming into the beast caused a small shock wave to come from the two, as Izuku grabbed the Nomu's arms and held them in place as he started to punch with his other arms. Not seeing any reaction from the beast, and knowing how much power is behind one of Izuku's punches, Katsuki knew he could go all out on the Nomu. Landing behind the beast, Katsuki started to blast his explosions at the Nomu. As the heat and force of the explosions were hitting the Nomu's back, Katsuki could see that the skin on its back was starting to blister from the heat. But the damage was being healed faster than both boys could make it. After a couple of seconds of being attacked, the Nomu managed to get its arms out of Izuku's grasp and backhanded Izuku away before turning around and trying to punch Katsuki. Using his explosion, Katsuki redirected the Nomu's arm away from himself, but wasn't ready for the other punch to hit him in the side, sending him flying. Seeing his brother being hit, Izuku knew that Katsuki would be in some pain given that the Nomu could hit really hard. Charging back, and Izuku tackled the Nomu using two hands each to hold the Nomu's arms away from his body, as his other two went around the Nomu's neck, putting it in a choke hold, while wrapping his legs around the Nomu's torso to give him a better chance of not getting thrown off. As the beast thrashed around while its airway was being crushed, Izuku managed to get the Nomu's chest to face the sky with himself under the creature, giving his brother a place to start attacking. Katsuki had seen what his brother did and used the opportunity to land on the chest of the Nomu and put his hands on the Nomu's chest and used one of the super moves he made with his brother for the first time. "Concussive detonation," yelled Katsuki as a wave of concussive force went through the Nomu and a wave of flames washed over the top of the Nomu's body. After the attack was done, the Nomu stopped moving for a second as blood started to come out of the Nomu's mouth. Getting away from the Nomu, the two boys looked at it, then at each other. "Are you okay?" asked Izuku. "Yeah, a couple broken ribs. But I will live. As for the fact that I just killed that thing, I don't know," said Katsuki as he held his side and took deep breaths. The boys were about to walk away when they heard yelling from above them. Looking up, the two could see Tetsu and Kirishima falling, moving out of the way as the two hard heads hit the ground. Looking back at the other villains, they could see the hand villain vigorously scratching his neck and saying something about cheating and how things aren't fair, and the mist villain was next to him with a lot of craters in the ground. "Damn it! Damn it! Damn it! It's not fair they cheated somehow. Damn it, Noma, get up and kill these brats," yelled out the hand villain. Seeing the villain acting like a child was a weird sight for the students, as Kirishima and Tetsu were thinking that the villain had a couple screws loose, while Izuku and Katsuki have other thoughts on their minds. "He can't be the one behind this. He acts too immature to get all these people together," thought the two boys. After having a second or two of thought about the villain in front of them, Izuku changed back to normal to relax his muscles and to save stamina, but this was a bad idea when his instincts went off like crazy as a shadow appeared over them. Before Izuku could see anything, a massive black fist went past him and slammed into Katsuki's chest, leaving a visible imprint and causing blood to come out of his mouth, flying into Kirishima and Tetsu. "Gotcha!" Izuku was cut off by another hand, slamming him back to the shipwreck zone with a massive splash into the water. Seeing their classmates get clobbered made the students on the stairs go white in fear and caused some of the other students that were just making it to the plaza stop and be frozen. The students from the other zones thought they would be safe with the others, especially with their strongest classmates, but to see two of them getting ragdolled caused them to be filled with fear. But to a couple of girls, it was a nightmare. Pony, Itsuka, and Cammy had tears rolling down their faces. Holding Katsuki, Kirishima and Tetsu were trying their best to help him breathe after the punch. Bakugo, breathe man. Are you okay? Asked Kirishima, coughing from the punch and trying his best to not pass out. Katsuki tried to tell Kirishima something. Hearing a cry from the Nomu as it charged at them, the two students that could still fight got ready to take the hit, but were surprised when it was frozen in ice. Looking at the origin of the ice, the students could see Todoroki standing there with his right hand on the ground. "Move! Get him out of there!" yelled Todoroki. Knowing that the Nomu creature would break out of the ice soon, the two boys picked up Katsuki and started running to the stairs. Hearing the breaking of ice behind them, the two knew they made the right choice. Sending ice at the Nomu, Todoroki was making a safe passing point for the other students to make it to the stairs to get out. But Todoroki knew that he wouldn't be able to stop the beast with just his ice, but he refused to use his fire. Seeing that almost everyone was back at the stairs, Todoroki turned to see that Pony was running to the water where Izuku was sent flying. Knowing that he needed to get her out of there was the only thing he could think of. Grabbing the girl who tried her best to get out of his grasp and running to the stairs, Todoroki could see that Pony was looking at the water where Izuku was sent and knew what she wanted, but knew that the area was dangerous. But before he could make it to the stairs, the Nomu stopped him and sent him and Pony away from their destination, landing closer to the shipwreck zone. Getting back to his feet, Todoroki stood in front of Pony with Nomu walking closer to them. Knowing that he had to use everything he had to survive, Todoroki was about to light his left side ablaze, but he heard the splash of water. Before he could turn around, a massive snake head went flying past him and bit the neck of the Nomu, lifting the creature up in the air with the rest of the body coming from the water. To see a creature break Todoroki's ice was one thing for the students, but a massive 42-foot-long snake come out of the water and lifted said creature with its mouth was a completely different case. Some of the students were confused as to what it was, but one person knew what she was seeing. "That's Titanoboa, an extinct species of snake," said Setsuna. Hearing that it was a prehistoric creature made the other students happy, knowing that there was only one person in their class that could change into said creature. Itsuka and Cammy were holding each other in relief, seeing Izuku was okay. Seeing his brother fighting the Nomu made Katsuki happy, but after looking a little longer, he was more scared than anything. Trying to get the two boys there to let him go, but failing, Katsuki tried yelling to Izuku, but nothing came out but coughs and wheezes. "Bakugo, you need to stop moving. It will only make things worse," said Kirishima, putting Katsuki down at the top of the stairs. "You don't worry, we can go and help Midoriya," said Tetsu. "And, oh no, you can't. He will. That hurt you," said Katsuki with a lot of coughing. "What do you mean he would hurt them? Why would Izuku hurt them?" asked Pony. "He's in a rage," said Katsuki. "Look, Izuku is crushing the black creature," said Setsuna, pointing at the two. After flailing the Nomu in the air for a while, Izuku slammed the beast to the ground and started to wrap his body around the creature. Using his mouth to keep hold of the Nomu and getting his full body around the Nomu, Izuku started to constrict, applying more and more force to his prey. For in this moment there was no Izuku, just a predator fighting its prey. Izuku was running off pure instinct and rage at the moment, all rational thoughts set aside. The Nomu tried to get out of Izuku's hold, but even with super strength it is no match to having the crushing weight of 3 Eiffel Towers put on top of you. Seeing that the Nomu was not getting out, the hand villain was about to charge in and kill Izuku, but was stopped by the sound of the front doors being blasted off their hinges. "Have no fear, students." "Why? Because I am here," said All Might, ripping his tie from his neck and wearing an angry expression on his face. Looking around at the sight in front of him, All Might knew what he needed to do. Dashing to the central plaza, he came face to face with the Nomu creature that was being crushed by Izuku, and the 2 other villains standing a little ways away. Seeing that Izuku had the creature on lockdown, All Might looked to the other villains. "You are defeated. Surrender now and come peacefully. If not, I will be forced to bring you down," said All Might with his booming voice, stomping the ground, causing it to crack for added effect. Damn it. This is not how it was supposed to go. We were here to kill All Might, not to get stopped by children," yelled out the hand villain, about to charge the number 1 hero, but was stopped by the mist villain. "Young Shigaraki, we need to retreat," said the mist villain, pulling the now named Shigaraki through a portal as he was yelling and trying to get out of the portal. Seeing the villains trying to escape, All Might dashed to them trying to grab them, but all he grabbed was a handful of black mist that disappeared after a second or two. "Damn it," yelled All Might, knowing that if he was only a little faster he could have made it. After turning around to look at the Nomu and Izuku, All Might see that Izuku was still crushing the creature, and that even though blood was coming out of the creature's mouth, it was still fighting to get out and trying to kill Izuku. Making his way to his student, All Might was about to help his student hold the creature, but the Nomu had enough and bite Izuku on the side of his body, causing Izuku to release his jaws from the Nomu's neck, but it also made him increase the force of his constriction, collapsing the Nomu's body in on itself. With a wave of anger and a radiating aura of killing intent that everyone could feel, Izuku changed his top half back to a human, but his teeth were still really sharp. Grabbing the Nomu's jaws with his hands, he prized his mouth open and away from his body, holding it in place. Izuku had a large amount of smoke coming from his mouth. Seeing this, All Might dashed to the two, trying to stop his student. "Young man, stop," said All Might. But Izuku was faster, blasting a large amount fired straight down the Nomu's throat, burning the creature's insides, until its head melted away from its body. Feeling the body going limp, Izuku changed back to normal, holding the Nomu's head as its body fell to the ground, looking like a crushed can. Looking to the sky and releasing a massive roar that could have only been described as a monster's roar. Izuku dropped his head and fell on his back, passing out from the actions he had done. Catching the young man, All Might have looked at the boy and checked for a pulse, finding one knew that the boy was just asleep from exhaustion. After witnessing their classmates' power and his anger, some of the students were shocked, some were scared, some were in awe at the amount of power. Bakugo, on the other hand, was doing everything he could to try and get out of Kirishima's and Tetsu grips to get to Izuku. But the two hardheads refused to let the injured boy go. As the boys were holding Bakugo, no one was stopping Pony from sprinting to All Might, who was holding Izuku in his arms, with Itsuka and Cammy hot on her heels. "Does her horse-like feet make her faster, or is it Izuku?" asked Cammy, with Itsuka giving her a weird look. "Sorry, I make jokes when I am nervous," said Cammy. As the girls were making it to Izuku, All Might could see that the girls were very worried about the boy, so he handed Izuku over to them, seeing steam coming off himself. Grabbing Izuku, Pony hugged him so tight, All Might almost thought she would squeeze the remaining life out of him. But once the other two girls made it to him, All Might could tell the boy would be okay. As the girls were holding him, other heroes ran by them, arresting the knocked-out villains and helping the other students make it back to the rest of the class. "You girls know that it would be easier for me to heal the boy if you would stop smothering him," said Recovery Girl. With a great amount of hesitation and a little help from some of the other heroes, the girls finally let Recovery Girl do her job and heal the wounds that hadn't already been healed by his natural healing factor. Once Recovery Girl had him healed, all of the students were moved outside, where some of them got medical attention and interviewed by the police. As Kirishima and Tetsu were struggling to get Bakugo into an ambulance and to not run away, Bakugo wouldn't stop yelling. "Let go of me, you dumbass blockheads. I am fine," yelled out Bakugo. "You have multiple broken ribs, ruptured organs, internal bleeding, a possible concussion, a fracture on your T9 and T10 vertebrae. You are anything but fine," said the medic in the ambulance, trying to help Bakugo. "Fuck off, I can walk it off. I need to get to," said Bakugo before passing out. "Wait, what happened to him? Is he okay?" asked Kirishima. "He is fine. It is just my quirk. I can put anyone I touch to sleep. It helps when I need to put a patient under to make them calm," said the medic. Closing the ambulance doors, Kirishima and Tetsu went back to the rest of the class, while in another ambulance was Izuku with Pony, Itsuka, and Cammy in the ambulance with him refusing to leave. So the paramedic had them keep an eye on him until he made his way to the hospital. Sitting in the back of the ambulance, all the girls were holding some part of Izuku to have some kind of connection to him. Back at the USJ, the police had interviewed the students and proceeded to help get the rest of the villains into the police cars. Over away from the other students was Melissa and a very skinny man with bright golden hair who was coughing up blood. "You need to get some help," Papa could help you and maybe find a better solution to the problem. Please, Uncle Might, asked Melissa. No, I need to be here. To train the next generation of heroes and to train you. I have been living with this injury for a while, and my power is still enough to fight the good fight and keep people safe. Once I am out of juice, I will gladly go into retirement, knowing that I helped keep the future safe. So please don't worry about me. You should worry about your friends and fellow classmates. One of which did save your life from what I heard. Something that shouldn't have happened if I had just been here, said All Might. But Uncle Might, said Melissa before being cut off by All Might. No, it's okay. But let's go back to your friends. Come on, said All Might, motioning towards the classes that were all together. Hospital. As the Bakugos and the Midoriyas arrived at the hospital, they were escorted to the respective rooms of their children, with Mitsuki Bakugo yelling at her son and hitting him over the head before hugging him, to Inko Midoriya almost flooding the room with her tears as her husband held her with their son unconscious in the bed with the three girls still at his side. After a couple of minutes and Mitsuki calming Inko down, the doctor came to give the news about their sons. Hello, which one of you are the Bakugos? Asked the doctor. That would be us. What can you tell us, doctor? Answered Masaru. Well, the good news is your son will make a complete recovery and will be back in fighting shape in no time. He had a couple broken ribs that we set and healed. He had some internal bleeding, but luckily no overly damaged organs, so we stopped the bleeding and patched him up. Finally, he did have a small fracture on his T9 and a microfracture on his T10 vertebrae, but they were healed, and the worst he will have is some little pain for the next couple days, said the doctor. That's great to hear. Thank you, doctor. By any chance, do you have any information on Izuku Midoriya? Asked Masaru. Actually, that is the other patient came to talk about. I take it you are his parents? Asked the doctor, turning to look at Inko and Hisashi. Yes, I am his father, and this is his mother. What can you tell us about our son? Asked Hisashi. Your son, at first glance, seemed to be in pretty bad shape, but after some tests and cleaning it wasn't that bad. He had some minor cuts that his natural healing fixed along with the puncture wounds he had. The only big parts were that he had worked himself to unconsciousness, and he put a lot of strain on his muscles and tendons from his quirk. In basic terms, your son's body has gone through the equivalent of a 3-day-long super hard workout session with no breaks. He will be out for about a day, maybe 2 at the worst, but let him rest and give him healthy, energizing food, and he should be back in school in about 3 to 4 days total, said the doctor, bowing and walking off. See, Inko, those 2 brats are too stubborn to be out of the fight for too long, said Mitsuki, hugging Inko, who looked like she was about to start crying again. With the news and his wife in good hands, Hisashi walked into his son's room and walked to the girls. I just thought you girls would like to know. Izuku is going to be okay. He just needs a couple days to relax and get his strength back, said Hisashi, seeing the look of relief on the girls' faces. After Mitsuki had calmed Inko down and some time had passed, Hisashi had the girls leave Izuku's side for a short time and tell them what happened. So who would like to tell us what happened? Asked Hisashi. Stepping up, Itsuka started talking. Well, we walked into the USJ, and before we could even start the class, a villain teleported a massive amount of other villains into the USJ. We got separated, and Izuku ended up fighting a creature that scared him and was made to fight All Might and kill him. At one point, he and Bakugo fought the monster, and they thought they killed it, but it got back up and punched both boys. While Bakugo was injured, Izuku was sent into the water area, and when he came out of the water, he was a giant snake, said Itsuka before being interrupted by Cammy. I think that Setsuna called it Titanoboa, said Cammy. Yeah, that. And he bit and slammed the monster into the ground and started crushing it. All Might showed up and knocked out the remaining villains and made the teleporting villain run away. But while this happened, the monster that Izuku was fighting bit him, and he went crazy and changed his upper half back to human and pried the monster's mouth open and blasted fire down its throat till its head melted off its body before changing back to normal and passing out. But one thing that I was confused about was something Bakugo said. He said that Izuku was in a rage or something, said Itsuka, with the other 2 girls agreeing with her. Hearing what their son did, the Midoriyas were shocked, but more at the fact that their son fought something that was made to kill All Might than the fact their son killed the thing and went into a rage. Well, I knew one day his rage might come out, but to think he was strong enough to fight something that was supposed to kill All Might. That is some pretty interesting stuff, said Hisashi with Inko hitting him. Wait, you're not surprised that Izuku went into a rage? Asked Itsuka. No, this isn't the first time, but from the sound of it, this might be the worst. The first time he had a rage was when we went to a zoo and a lion got out of its cage and scared a little kid. Izuku went into protector mode and changed into a gorilla and stopped the lion, almost breaking the lion's legs. It was some crazy shit, said Mitsuki. I think I remember Izuku telling me about that, said Pony. As the group continued to talk, they didn't notice a blonde-haired boy shuffling his way into Izuku's room. Closing the door as quietly as he could, the boy let out a breath that he was holding. You know I could hear you getting out of your bed, right? Said Izuku with his eyes still shut. And I knew you weren't unconscious this whole time. You have probably been awake for at least an hour, said Bakugo sitting in the chair next to Izuku's bed. About 45 minutes give or take. But I like the sleep and everything hurts, said Izuku. I feel you on that. That black bastard really hit me hard. Hell, he even punched you a good distance and cracked your armor. And before you ask, yes, I saw the armor plates you grew break from the hit, said Bakugo. Yeah, they did break, and the pain was a lot more intense after that. That's what probably forced me into the rage. Can't believe I killed that thing the way I did, said Izuku. I mean, in my professional opinion, that was a certified badass moment. I mean, you pried the thing's mouth open and breathed a basic beam of fire down the bastard's throat. If that's not badass, I don't know what is, said Bakugo. It was kinda cool. But that thing was made to kill All Might. But who made it, and why do they want to kill All Might so badly? Asked Izuku. Who knows? He has a lot of enemies, and there are plenty who would probably try to kill him if they had the chance. But last time I checked, all the people who could get their asses handed to them by All Might, said Bakugo. The two continued talking till the rest of the group walked into the room, and they talked to each other for a little longer. Back at school. In the council room of the school, the staff of the school, including the principal. All right, everyone. I know that today has been a rather interesting day, but we need to talk about what happened and how we will proceed in the future, said Mizu. I guess the first place to start is how did they get into the USJ and how did they know the timing of the classes? Asked Midnight. I believe they may have gotten them from someone on the inside, said Ectoplasm. Ectoplasm, are you insinuating we have some kind of traitor in our school? Asked Midnight. It's the most valid idea here. The only other option I can think of is that the teleporter used his ability to teleport into the school and grab the class schedule. But the alarm system would have accounted for all the intruders, and all the news reporters were counted, and they matched the numbers from the alarm system, said Powerloader. I don't want to think of someone in our school turning to villainy. It seems to be the only possible answer to how they got the information. Now on to the next topic of how the students are handling the attack, said Mizu. Most of the students are handling the attack rather well. We haven't talked with the students that went to the hospital, but I would think they are all right, said Hound Dog. They will be fine. They are my students and I know them well. The ones in the hospital right now are the two strongest students I have, and the girls that went with them have each other, and Midoriya will always help others no matter what condition he is in, said a well-wrapped Aizawa. Aizawa, shouldn't you be in recovery with Vlad? Asked Midnight. Yes, he should, but his stubborn head refuses to stay in bed, so I wrapped him up the best I could so that he would at least not get an infection, said Recovery Girl right next to him. Well, it is good to see that you are up and walking. But speaking of Midoriya, we do need to talk about his actions that happened at the USJ, said Mizu, pulling up pictures that were taken by the cameras at the USJ after the systems came back online. Looking at the pictures, the staff at UA could see Midoriya in his snake form and in his Azura form fighting the Nomu. They could see him in his rage state killing the Nomu and roaring to the sky. This is Izuku Midoriya, the kid that took down a creature made to bring down All Might, said Snipe, looking at Izuku prying the Nomu's mouth open. He killed that thing, but from what I heard from some of the students, he was in some kind of rage, said Hound Dog. Yes, there was something about that in his file, but not to this extent. From the file, it was in response to protect others. But this was a lot more extreme than any other cases. How do you all think we should handle this case? He did kill that Noma creature, said Mizu. How would we even punish him? He was not fully in control of his actions, asked Midnight. But he still did it, said Snipe. I don't think we should punish him at all, said Aizawa, surprising everyone. Eraser, you of all people know the rules about killing a villain, said Snipe. Yes, I do, and that is exactly why I say we shouldn't punish him. One, he was fighting for his life and the life of all the other students, and me and Vlad. Two, he was in a rage fighting that thing, and he is one of, if not the strongest student I have, and was still being injured by the creature. Three, that thing is not a normal human. It had multiple quirks, and it was physically strong enough to take All Might on without a quirk. Fourth and finally, that thing was not something that could be stopped. It had a super regeneration quirk to the point that one of my other students liquefied its insides and in seconds was up and punched him across the USJ. It scared Izuka Midoriya, and I don't know too much about animals and dinosaurs, but if you have all those carnivores in your corner and something scares you, then it's definitely not human, said Aizawa, causing everyone to go silent. So what if a boy gets scared? A lot of people do, even ones with animal quirks. Gang Orca has even said he gets scared when in a room with All Might, and so does Hound Dog, said a new person entering the room. Eric, good to see you joining us. How was your trip to America, and how was Charles and his school? Said Nizu, turning to the vice principal of UA. Nizu, it is always good to see you. Charles sends his hellos and wishes us the best, and that you could visit him someday. Now back to this kid I have heard so much about, said Eric. The meeting went on for a couple more hours discussing what the plan moving forward will be and what to do about the sports festival. Midoriya household. Making it back to their houses after being released from the hospital, Izuku had contemplated killing the Nomu and how he had done it. Not to mention how his other classmates might see him now. Getting the message from the school telling the hero course students that they have the next couple days off, Izuku didn't know what to do, but one night, he was sitting in bed thinking when he heard something hit his window. Walking over to his window, Izuku opened it, feeling the cool night air on his face. Looking down to the ground and changing his vision to night vision, Izuku could see someone he wasn't expecting to see at this time of night. Standing there was Itsuka Kendo in a pair of long sweatpants and a hoodie, waving Izuku down. Knowing that his parents were asleep and that if he went out the front door, it would wake them up. Backing away from the window, Izuku got a bad idea. Grabbing some clothes, he changed into a fly, making his way outside. Landing behind Itsuka and changing back to normal without Itsuka knowing. He slowly creeped up behind her and at the last moment scared her, getting a very girly scream from her. Don't do that, said Itsuka, smacking Izuku on the arm for scaring her. Sorry, but that was funny, and I didn't know you had that girly scream, said Izuku, giggling. Well, of course I do. I am still a girl, you know, said Itsuka, pouting. Of course I know. Did you think I forgot? Asked Izuku. No, ahahaha. Never mind. Come on, let's go, they're waiting, said Itsuka, running off into the woods towards the town. Wait there? Who? Asked Izuku to the wind as he started chasing after Itsuka. As the two teens ran through the woods, with Izuku hot on Itsuka's heels, something felt right for Izuku, like the woods and nature was where he was meant to be. Seeing that he was getting distracted and Itsuka was making distance, Izuku had another idea. Picking up speed, Izuku started to grow bigger as fur started to cover him, and his limbs changed. Lunging forward, Izuku finished changing into a massive wolf. Passing Itsuka and stopping right in front of her, Izuku could see the look of amazement in the girl's eyes. Kneeling to the ground and leaning his back towards the girl, Izuku was waiting for Itsuka to get on his back. When Itsuka saw Izuku pass her as a wolf, she was amazed, and when she saw him wanting her to get on his back, she had a little blush on her face. Making it to Izuku in his wolf form, Itsuka hopped onto his back, getting a good hold on some of the very comfortable and soft fur. As Izuku stood, turning his head to Itsuka. Where to? Asked Izuku in a deep, raspy voice. To my dojo, said Itsuka, pointing in the general direction. Turning to the pointed location, Izuku readied himself before taking off at full speed to the dojo, running through the moonlit woods. Being a little scared at the fast exhilaration, Itsuka was clinging to Izuku like he was the only thing that would stop her from flying away. But after a short time, Itsuka slowly looked up, feeling the air rushing past her, and then she could see the view of the town lit up by all the lights through the trees. After making it to the dojo, Itsuka got off Izuku, who changed back to normal. The two teens walked into the dojo, seeing that the only area that had light on was where he would train with Tiamat, But instead of seeing his sensei, there it was Pony and Cammy. So when you said they were waiting, you meant them? Asked Izuku, getting a confirming yes from Itsuka. So what is going on? Asked Izuku to the girls. Well, after the events at the USJ and a conversation we had earlier, we would like to tell you something, said Itsuka. Yeah, and we wanted to tell you before the USJ, but the timing wasn't right, said Pony. And this thing you want to tell me is? Asked Izuku. Pony was about to answer, but was cut off by Cammy. Like Pony here, both me and Itsuka like you, and want to be your girlfriends as well, said Cammy with a lot more confidence than the other two girls. Izuku, hearing this, did what most people would do when they hear this. His brain shut down and did a hard reset. Standing completely still and blank-faced, Izuku didn't know what to think or do. The girls were a little concerned to see Izuku frozen and blank-faced. Izuku, are you okay? Asked Pony. Snapping back to reality, Izuku thought about it for a second or two before answering. So you all have feelings towards me, and you have all talked about this and agreed you would share me? Asked Izuku. Yes, said all three girls in unison. With a deep sigh, Izuku started smiling and laughing. Well, this makes things a lot easier, said Izuku. Wait, what do you mean? Asked Itsuka. Oh, that's right, I didn't tell you all this. But I learned that like other animals in the world, I have a mating season where I have a heightened sense to reproduce and to be affectionate. The weird part about it is that it doesn't target everyone around me, but it targets certain people, and all three of you have been targeted by it. Given that some animals have multiple mates and I have a massive amount of different instances in me, makes the mating season weird, and I feared that one day I might get very affectionate with someone other than my girlfriend, and it would be like cheating. But now that this has popped up, it makes my life so much easier, said Izuku, sitting on the ground, catching his breath from laughing. So is that a yes or no to us dating you with Pony? Asked Cammy. Of course it's a yes. As long as Pony is okay with it, and you both are okay with it, then I am fine with it, said Izuku, seeing blushes appear on the girls' faces. Hearing the words of their now boyfriend made Cammy and Itsuka very happy and caused big smiles to appear on their faces. Before he knew it, Izuku was tackled by Cammy, who started to vigorously kiss him, with Itsuka blushing even more from the show of affection and Pony getting a little jealous, trying to pull the girl off Izuku. Calm down, Cammy, said Pony. After getting Cammy off, Izuku sat up with his hair a little more frizzled than normal before he felt a hand on his cheek, turning his head to see Itsuka next to him. A lot calmer and gentler than Cammy, Itsuka kissed Izuku, getting a weird but nice feeling from the kiss. After the whole embarrassment and having fun was done, the four teens had some fun sparring and seeing how well Izuku and Itsuka can fight, with Izuku winning the fights with Itsuka. Once that was done, the teens made their way back home, where Izuku started thinking about his quirk more after the conversation with the girls. Couple days later, training field away from Izuku's house. In an open field near the Midoriya household were two boys training. Izuku and Katsuki were fighting each other with their quirks. Katsuki using his explosions to try and hit Izuku, who was tanking the blasts with pangolin plates and increased strength. With craters all around and scorch marks everywhere, the two boys were tired and done training. It's been a while since we trained like this, said Izuku, changing back to normal. You're not wrong. I think the last time I beat your ass was before school started, said Katsuki. Beat my ass? I think you mean struggling to even leave a scratch on me is what you mean, said Izuku. Yeah, whatever you say. I know that if I tried I could beat you, said Katsuki with a smug look on his face. Oh really, you think you can beat me if I go all out? Said Izuku with his teeth growing and a scary look in his eyes. Okay, I said if I go all out, not you. I'm not crazy enough to think I can beat you at 100%, said Katsuki. That's what I thought. You can't beat the king, said Izuku with a smirk on his face. Speaking of 100%, we have never really tested what you really can do, have we? Asked Katsuki. I mean, we have tried to, but it's hard to measure what I am capable of. I mean, how do you measure strength that is multiplied by different creatures? How do you measure the changes in my body when I have multiple manifestations? Asked Izuku. I mean, now that we are at UA, we can use their equipment, and don't we have a classmate that can make almost anything? Spiky Ponytail can make stuff for you, right? Asked Katsuki. Okay, one, you need to get better at learning people's names, and two, I can't just walk up to her and say, How can you make me stuff to test my limits and see just how powerful I am? Said Izuku. I mean, I would just say, how make me test shit? Said Katsuki. You're impossible. Said